old school laughs, you're in for a treat because we've got them right here. Flip City Magazine. Remember Mad Magazine? Then it went woke? Wow, don't worry. Flip City has no chance of going woke. That's right. 4 times a year, you'll get an actual printed magazine full of jokes, stories, comics, and more, all about today's pop culture, entertainment, and woke politics. Flip City takes terrible entertainment trends we love to hate with hilarious parodies of Lord of the Rings, Stranger Things, The Walking Dead, Star Trek, Hunters, and more. Trust me when I say there is nothing else like Flip City on the market. So subscribe today. It will be delivered in print, or you can even get it digitally if you're one of those wacky Zoomers. Either way, follow our link and sign up today, and if you put in midnight, you get an extra 10% off. Check out Flip City Magazine today.
We're gonna get a little bit crazy, wild and maybe even vulgar if you please. It's after dark and we're gonna light it up. We got some fun in store for you, no tease. It's time for Midnight Edge. After dark, a little naughty, we'll hopefully make you chuckle, but we ain't trying to hurt nobody, so get ready quick on the double, cause it's time for Midnight Edge. After dark.
Right, Peter Jackson is back in the Middle Earth. I've seen Planet of the Apes. Friday the 13th sequel, still a sequel series, whatever, still a possibility. We'll see on Midnight's Edge After Dark. That's right, kids. Welcome. See that, bro. Sanders happy he got his Glory Hole song. Yes, that was one I got the other day. Glory hole, oh glory hole. Indeed. Good evening, everybody. Hopefully you're having a wonderful afternoon, evening, morning, whatever it is where you is listening to us here. We've got clobbering times with us. That's what time it is.
Hey, what's up, buddies on the chat and friends in the friends in the chat and buddies on the panel. Either way you want to do it. Tom, good to see you. Nick, buddy. Good to be here.
Have you?
A pleasure, sir.
We also have all 32 flavors of Nick Weiser. How you been?
I'm good. I had delicious cheese quesadillas not too long ago. It was ultra melty and cheesy and gooey the way cheese is. It was fat filled, and the bread was super gluten-y. Like I felt like it's like okay, it wasn't about what gluten can do for me, but what I could do for gluten. So I felt like a proud quesadilla patriot. Hello, chat. Hello, panel. Hello, wrenches. Thanks for having me.
Was it a homemade quesadilla or one you got from somewhere else?
A local restaurant.
Nice.
It was really good, though.
Nice.
Yeah.
So since you didn't get it from Taco Bell, it actually had some cheese in it.
Oh, dude. Like, they freaking smothered it. It's almost like they knew I was coming in to buy it.
It's like, this guy's the cheese guy. Oh, shit.
Yeah, you better stack
You eat so much pizza, we have to put more cheese on this quesadilla that any man has ever seen before.
Yeah, no, seriously. It was
what?
Really
that
good.
much cheese would kill a man. Not this man.
Yeah.
He is known
I'm
as
not the average
Pizza
human.
Gut in some places.
But yeah,
Pizza
happy
Gut.
to be here. Let's talk things.
It looks so bad that anyway. Yes, you guys saw the X-Men show. That's where I think we're going to start today because I haven't seen it yet.
Sure.
Well, it's not over yet. There's one more to go.
One more episode.
But you guys have seen it all so far, and you guys were talking a little bit about it before the show, so I thought, well, at least you guys can maybe discuss your feelings on that a little bit.
Well, we don't get too spoiler or anything, but I'll just say that so far, full disclosure, I'm not the biggest X-Men fan. I like them fine. They're not my favorite group or anything, but the cartoon was cool in the 90s when I was able to catch it here and there, but I never saw it all back then.
Yeah, I was more into Fleetwood Mac back in the day.
But I was never saw that cartoon.
I used to
then a couple years back, I went and binged it all and stuff, and it's a good cartoon. It's a lot, has lots of great nostalgic feelings for a lot of fans. Really love it. of course, the theme song is just iconic. It's fantastic. I had issues here and there with the roster of the cartoon at the time and different things, the way they handled some of their adaptations, but for the most part, it's pretty enjoyable. And so far, I've found this to be quite enjoyable, very close. I mean, especially if you're a big fan of the cartoon, I think it's very close, very faithful in terms of its look, its feel. It's got because let's face it, the old cartoon, like the comic books it was based on, is full of soap opera. It's all Chris Claremont soap opera type stuff. Even though this is basically it's a time where he wasn't always he wasn't writing every one of the series, but it's all very steeped in Claremont type of soap opera. This if you know what you're getting into, if you're an X-Men fan, someone keeps saying about the acceptance and tolerance thing. I mean, it's all not. I'll put it to you like this: it has no more messaging than the old show had.
Yep,
there was until this latest episode, without spoiling it, it's almost had no super cringy out there woke bits. Considering in 2024 you would expect some. There was one that was pretty cringy this week, but the episode around it's great, and it's very nostalgic. It's really giving fans a lot of the things they loved about the original cartoon. Is it 100% exactly like the cartoon? It's as close as you would expect them to get into 2024. Will it stick the landing and be really great for the last episode and make you want more? I don't know. But again, I've found it to be enjoyable and with a lot of cool things that make me as a comic book fan go, well, that's kind of nice. I like that. That was a very nostalgic bit. So compared to the other kind of crap we get today, I'll put it to you like this. I wish they would do this with some other brands that got cut off too short, like the Justice League cartoon in the 2000s, the Bruce Timm, Paul Dini cartoon, Justice League / Justice League International. They should come do that and pick up where they left off and do it on the same theme with this and keep to the point. It seems to be trying to be a continuation of that show in good faith. It doesn't really, like I said, it doesn't get super political or anything like that. But once in a while, it's gonna stick a little modern day crap in there, and yet compared to what I expected,
the political stuff kind of falls in line with what is being talked about.
I'm saying
it kind of fits.
What I'm saying is they haven't stuck any of that stuff in it yet. It's other than this past week. And let's see, someone put, yes, I wish they would do it with Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, Spectacular Spider-Man, some stuff like that. So far, this has been fairly, I would say fairly faithful and loving to the source material. Again, just say the word "so far" is all I can say. Go ahead, Nick. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I just want to add that bit in. But for me, I like that for this show, it's really done very well on the dramatics, because I feel like, especially with phases 4 and beyond, and a little bit of 3. And obviously, I know it's not in the same universe, but just to have something to compare it to, a point of reference, a lot of the comedy is ramped up so much that it's killed the tension. A lot of things. This show has small, subtle moments of good humor, but nothing where it's like a slapstick where every super serious moment is dialed back by a super funny moment. There's a lot of serious stuff in here, and it gets pretty dark and quite a bit of spots. Like it's not like just once or twice, like several times, and it's very effective. You're like, wow, okay, I forgot when cartoons could be like this, and it still felt in line with these characters. Also, this show is very, very character driven. A lot of these characters have great individual arcs, and they all have moments to shine. And there's some characters, and I'm not going to put names here, but they're characters who I didn't expect to be respected, end up getting so much respect. And like, if you had told me this character would have been treated with loving hair, I would have never believed it. I was straight up not like, what? You gotta be shitting me.
Did you say loving cat hair?
I meant to say loving care.
By the way, it was brought up in the chat. Morph using mutant powers, that original source material. No, it's not. That's weird. That's a weird thing about the show, where he seems to be being able to, and that's kind of, it's a little off the wall. I'm not really sure that's. It fits a different character than him. So how they're pulling that up, they don't explain, unfortunately. So no, I'm not. No one's saying the show's perfect. by any stretch of the
No,
imagination.
Are you
not.
And some of those costumes, you guys, like the Magneto one that you're talking about, well, you don't want to spoiler much, but we get the real deal back eventually on a lot of those. And we get to see some great costume changes in this towards the later episodes. Let's put it like that. In my opinion, I love it.
So you guys think that maybe DeMeo was given the boot because he didn't want to make things more gay? Is that what you guys are thinking at this
I
point?
don't
from the way the
know.
show
I
seems?
think because he ended up putting love and care into the show, that's why
don't
he
know.
did. I think that's honestly why. Because put it this way, if you're someone who knows the comics and know like creator names, and I'm not saying their names were mentioned in the special thanks at the credits, but if you pay attention, there's a lot of nods to the characters and like maybe like the billboard signs, restaurants that they pass by. So you'll get a lot of creator nods, and they take little direct moments from a lot of the source material comics, and it's still in continuity with the cartoon. It pretty much picks up where it left off as well from the original show. And it's and also there's a lot of great nods to where it all started from the comic books as well. So there is a lot of love taken directly from the source material. So it seems like they were trying to appease both the comic fans and the fans of the 90s show. So you'll
I just
definitely have
asked because it
something to
seems
love.
like the farther we get away from when they fired DeMeo, and we haven't seen anything, and I mean anything for some
And
kind
he's
of
back
smoking
on
gun.
social media now too. Because remember how
He
it's all
is,
social media
but
got
he
gone?
hasn't said much yet, from my understanding.
No, he hasn't.
Well,
He
I think
he's
he's
been talking
under
about the
NDA.
show. He's talking about the show, but he's not saying anything about why he got taken off.
Whatever, all the dumb crap he has said, other times when he's just talking about the X-Men themselves, you could tell. I mean, he's showing pictures of his office. He's got pictures of all. I mean, he has all the skins on the wall in terms of like the books, the novels, all the reproductions, the reprints of them, and the comics himself. He does love the X-Men. I mean, you can tell he's not a phony in that respect. Whatever else
No,
he is.
he's not a poser.
As far as all the woke crap, I'm sure he wants to put all the woke crap he wants to put in there, and they might put it all in there. Right now, there's other than one really cringy thing in the latest episode, they haven't done a lot of it. They've just put, whether you think the show's any good or not, it's another thing, but they haven't really put a lot of that stuff in it. And so you got that. Someone was talking about that. Yeah, I hate that Magneto costume in the first bunch of episodes, but that was taken from a comic book that I'm not really a fan of. But they did take it from the Trial of Magneto. It's a terrible costume, but at least eventually that gets fixed. So yeah, and I don't want to spoiler anything. I don't know if so I don't want to really spoiler things that I could say a lot more. But
you said a lot without giving away details. Yeah, I think you've done very well with the Clobby.
Well, thanks. I mean, like I say, and I'm just saying as someone. I enjoyed it. I'm not saying it's the greatest thing ever. I'm not that, but again, I guess if I were a bigger X-Men fan than I am, I'd probably, really kind of excited. But then again, we know this is Disney, so that last episode they might totally screw us over. I mean, we'll see, and we're probably never going to get any more of them anyway.
Yeah, my prediction is I think the last episode will end up being good. How good, obviously, we'll know next week. But what I think is whatever goodwill that will be left, whether it's a 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, whatever, it's going to all be tossed out the window come season 2. That's my prediction. I think all the damage is going to happen there. I think that's good.
I'm just going to say you're right, but if there's a story criticism I will have is that they're trying to cram way too much into it, either from X-Men lore, but they're not the first to do that. Cartoons always, or movies do it too. Yeah. They always abbreviate the hell out of things.
You're right, because when you watch it, it starts off like it feels very episodic, which I like, but it felt like there was like a subtle thread. But now that it's escalated, now it feels like they're trying to do both, and I think it is starting to bite a little bit more than it can chew. But luckily, it's been entertaining, so I've been able to forgive that small misstep.
Can we go ahead, Tom?
They always seem to have it's fine. They always seem to have a continuity on the show, is what I was going to say. But we have a couple more panel members joining us in the back here. We've got Price of Reason.
Price.
Hey, how's it going?
How's my Doug Pardo?
I just saw the Apes movie.
Oh, good. We'll be talking about that in a little bit.
But by the way, I also wanted to give a theory. I think that that Bo DeMeo basically, when he did that interview and he said that Kevin Feige told him that he wanted to hire him because he was a gay black man, I believe that really
I actually
happened.
believe that.
Me
I
too.
believe that too.
Oh yeah.
And I believe that maybe, and this is some weird thing, Bo DeMaio actually did like the X-Men,
Yep.
and maybe Kevin Feige thought, okay, we got a guy here doing exactly what he needs to do, and then it turns out this guy was actually a fan and he was trying to actually do something decent,
Yep.
and maybe that's where they kind of started tension building up there.
Could
That
be.
he thought that all the kind of messaging that he likes will be shoved in there, Kevin Feige, but at the end he got a guy that was supposedly checked all the boxes that he wanted, but maybe didn't do what he wanted him to do. That's just my theory. I have no idea, because I'm kind of shocked that this
I
thing...
kind of agree with that theory, actually. Yeah.
It seems like Bo is more interested in resurrecting the show and picking up where it left off, and Feige's more for the message. Yeah.
And if somebody's actually a fan, they're going to be more resistant to any kind of change. Sorry, Nick.
Yeah, before we went live, Price, though, that was literally my theory to the guys backstage. Which is
kind of why we we should talk about this on the show. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all right. All right, screw, let's talk about it. But no, I do believe that that's what happened. He got hired for the DEI quota. That was the initial intention. And just as you said, it turned out to be a gay. It's almost like they think a guy being gay just somehow defaults to
they thought he was going to be a better ally than he was going to be a fan. That's where they made a mistake.
Right.
It's like, hey, like there's a guy I know within, I guess you could say, the comic sphere on YouTube who's a gay man, and I know his favorite character is Doctor Strange. It's like, why do they like reduce people like that to, well, if they're gay, then they must want to mess this up? Like they like things too, and they like things for what they are too. Like, do we like just pretend that they don't exist to like those things?
Well, somebody who I know is not gay and is my biggest fan. You know him, you love him. He's the greatest YouTube personality around. Ladies and gentlemen, Mexican Iron Man.
Hey, what's up?
It's the greatest YouTuber ever.
Mi esposa ya se fue a Tamaulipas y por eso lloro. So what that means is my wife went to the state of Tamaulipas in Mexico with my cousin, and for that reason is why tonight I cry. Tonight I cry.
That sounds like a song I should write.
It is. Mi esposa, I made up those lyrics years ago, and I've been saying them like to like white people.
Send me the Spanish version,
please.
They're
like, what are you saying? I'm like, oh, I'm talking about a lost love. But I know that it's like my Puerto Rican ex-girlfriend took up with my cousin and is now banging him somewhere in Mexico. Thank God, because I'll get my.
Send me all that in the English and Spanish version, please, and we'll make it happen.
Now, how come I'm the only one on camera? Is that if you're not a YouTuber, you're not?
Because I'm sitting here drinking chocolate milk, and I know you'd yell at me.
What's wrong with chocolate milk? That's not that bad.
Well, the doctor still says it's not great.
Oh wait, it's got sugar in it. That's right.
Just sugar.
It does. Oh yeah, man, I didn't know that.
Not that much, but it does.
Yeah, because chocolate milk. Of everything is on the list. Chocolate milk's the worst thing that Tom Connors consumes. Yeah,
24 grams in here, but I don't know if that's per. Yeah, that's per 1 cup serving. So yeah.
Yeah, so go get a cup and go put in 24 grams of sugar and see how much that is, and then do that as a shot. You'll never want sugar again.
I'm an adult teenager. I do what I want.
No, you are not an adult teenager. Look. Let me focus on Klobby because I'm in shock. Am I actually on a Midnight Sedge After Dark where Klobby actually talks about something he likes?
Yeah.
What's that supposed to mean?
You never like anything modern that's anything comic book related, anything modern ever, because you're a purist. You are my north star. You're my guiding light.
Well, you said comic related, but on a technicality, it's still a cartoon, so it's yeah. But you're right. I don't like any new comics, that's for sure. And I'm surprised I like this. Yeah, I'm surprised. I hear you.
So that means because I wrote this thing off. But if Mike Klobby, because I know your taste and I know your brain how it works. If you're saying you liked it, well, shit, that means Mexican Iron Man's got something to watch now.
Uh-oh. I don't want to be responsible for that.
Yeah, he's not the only one, Mike.
Coming home to the house tonight and watching Bambino and see the mess he made on the fucking carpet. That's the last
He's not the only one, though, Mike, because I've literally seen for the last 2 hours, all the guys in the Flashcast group have been talking it up and stuff like that, too.
No way. That crew, too?
Yeah. Yeah, they enjoyed it.
No.
It makes me think I should maybe watch it, but I haven't seen the original show since I was a kid, and I never followed it because it was one of those shows that came in later in the game to where, yeah, I would watch it once in a while, but like at that point, I was getting a little old for Saturday morning cartoons, and I had other shit going on.
Yeah.
So it was not, and it was on late enough that it was one of those shows that I just didn't catch that often because, like, especially when I started like bowling and stuff like that on Saturday leagues and stuff, like I was already out of the house before like X-Men would be on. So yeah.
I'm in the same possession as you, Tom. Like exactly what you just described. And with this show, I actually watched the first 2 episodes. They weren't bad, but then I thought to myself, if I watch more of it, there's probably a bunch of messaging. It's probably like a bait and switch. So I stopped watching because I have no faith in Disney. And at the end, people are now saying that it wasn't, that it was actually good. But I couldn't have known. I mean, I'm already used to it being bad. So the fact that there's something and it's not bad, it's shocking, actually.
Well, it's funny that you bring up faith in Disney because we're expecting another guest later, possibly, that you and I will talk about the latest Disney film, and it actually might be good, controversial. We'll find out.
Oh, that's an edgy statement.
What film would that be?
nowadays.
Disney's incapable of putting out anything good. What are you talking
Well, here's the thing. Once again, and I'll clarify this one last time. Let's just say that the show finishes off, guys. Finishes off. If the show finishes off good, it's still going to be an outlier. So this is not a they're back. This is not a hey, well, they're on the right track. This is a happy accident.
Or Mexican Iron Man would like to translate that. Happy accident means holy shit, they didn't totally fuck it up this time.
And they fired the guy that did it. They immediately fired the guy that did it. They saw it, and they in their eyes, they needed to get rid of him immediately. I don't know what that means if people like it and they needed him gone.
Yeah, we got anomalies going on. We got a good Disney Plus series right now and Fox X-Men, whatever you want to call it. We got a good Fox movie in theaters right now. Maybe, depending on how people feel about it, we're going to talk about that. Of course, now the media is running with this Elon Musk thing. We'll get into that as well. But we got some super chats here. Let's see what you guys are talking about. 2 very generous ones right off the bat. Holy crap! Holy Kalekioki sending in $20 and says, Tom, I thought you told me JJ Batman wasn't happening. Have you seen the new released images? In all seriousness, the art style looks like Batman the Animated Series. Still looks better. JJ Abrams and Amazon being part of this still has me worried. Oh, no. I never said that. I said he was being able to shop his animated Batman around. That was what the report was. And Amazon picked it up a while back. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, really it's just one of those things you can ignore.
Canceled. I don't want this to get off the ground. I really don't. And there's one guy I don't trust. It's JJ Abrams.
Jar Jar Abrams.
JJ Abrams has fallen from doing the biggest budget films in Hollywood to doing cartoon.
He's been busy directing The Rise of Skywalker for the last 5 years, Mike. That's why he hasn't worked. We all know this is the truth.
The director's cut.
The director's cut. That's right.
By the way, I do want to thank you guys for being here today. I've had 3 very difficult, shitty ass days, and you guys are my therapy tonight.
Good. Well, because we got some good stuff to talk about here tonight. We actually got some good-ish news, I guess, depending on your point of view. We'll get into here shortly. We got Jason Webster here, sending in 20 Australiano dollars.
Oh, huge.
Hole in the Wall by BJ Crazy Head, aka by BJ Goodhead and Friends. Indeed, a lost class. It really gives I can't talk tonight. Gives a real taste of South, like chewing tobacco before some bourbon glazed bison lamb fries and highly aged moonshine. Yes, what Jason is talking about is my new lost classic. It was just dropped the other day, and Sander actually was the one who asked for it. He's like, go write a song about a glory hole, and I did. So you go check that out. And then we've got 6 in the house. Oh my gosh! Hopefully you're feeling better. 6 sending us a banana peel.
She hasn't been around for a while. She's been sick. What happened? I was in tax season.
Yeah, she's been taking a break and just dealing with lots of stuff in life. That's her personal things that she wants to tell people.
Like me, she's not a YouTuber, so she understands. She's like my.
That's a lot of it. Yeah,
she's like my soul person. So I would say soul mate, but then that would sound sexual. So I'll say soul person because I'm trying to be compliant.
Ella
es tu hermana.
Hey?
Is it wrong that when Price talks Spanish, it kind of lights my fire down below? I mean, I'm not lying. That's true. Like if Tom spoke Spanish the way Price did, fuck, I might go gay.
I don't know if I could.
I'm just saying, I might go gay.
I'd fuck all the words. I can't even read English, y'all. You know what's going to happen. I'd be fucking it all up. I'd be like, would you like to eat my dog? Basically. JoePat87 sends in $4.99, says, I read if Sony is successful, they'll maintain the same quantity of movies from Paramount, but will likely sell CBS, the cable channels, and P+.
You said
maybe
P+?
Paramount Plus.
Oh,
I don't know about the last the last three things, actually, because here's the thing. Sony has never had a network, a cable channel, really. They're not in the streaming game. If they get plugged into Paramount, that automatically plugs them into the rest of the game. And with the news of Disney Plus and HBO Max teaming up, which is fucking weird. I don't know what the hell is going on there. It's just an app, I guess, of sorts, and I have no idea how this is going to work. But yeah, we've hit the end of this. We've hit the end of this, so you don't know. I don't know. I haven't heard anything solid yet. I just know that this Sony offer throws a big kink in Sherry Redstone's plans because all the shareholders want to take the better deal, of course, and they're accusing her of only giving a shit about herself. So we'll have to see how this pans out here. Matthew, unless any of you guys had any more thing to say about that.
I got nothing.
Then Matthew Valente, we're going to get on this in a little bit here after we talk about a few other topics. For $5, asks, what are your thoughts on Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes? Do you love it, hate it, or are mixed like the critics? Well, we'll find out in just a little bit. At least two of us have seen it, and we're expecting a third panel member a little later who may have seen it as well. And we have Mr. Buttcrack Media. How you been, buddy? Sending in a 23-month member milestone. Thank you so much for showing off your crack. We appreciate that. Sort of. Kind of. Yes. Anyway, with that, let's get into some news. Actually, as I promised, some good news, right? We have heard today, and this came out of the blue, Peter Jackson is returning to Middle-earth. Warner Brothers is set to release 2 Lord of the Rings films, one being The Hunt for Gollum in 2026, with Peter Jackson set to produce and Andy Serkis set to direct. So what is this all about here, kids? Warner Brothers will be releasing the first of its new batch of live-action Lord of the Rings films in 2026, which will focus on Andy Serkis's Gollum. Original Lord of the Rings trilogy filmmaker Peter Jackson and his partners Fran Walsh and Philippa Boyens are producing the movie and will be involved every step of the way. They said that for a reason.
Micromanagement 101.
No, they put that in there. This is like, I'll get to that. Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav said during an earnings call Thursday. So yeah, they had their earnings call today. I didn't get a chance to hear it. The project is currently in the early stages of script development from writers and Walsh and Boyens, along with Phoebe Gittins and Artie Papageorgiou. That's how you say that, probably. And will explore storylines yet to be told, Zaslav said. In a press release from Warner Brothers later Thursday morning, studio revealed that the working title for the film is Lord of the Rings: The Hunt for Gollum, and will be directed by Serkis in his iconic titular character. The film will be executive produced by Ken Kamins, with Serkis and Imaginarium's Jonathan Cavendish, I guess. Warner Brothers first announced in February 2023 that then newly installed studio leaders Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdi had brokered a deal to make multiple films based on the beloved J.R.R. Tolkien books. Projects will be developed through Warner Brothers label New Line Cinema. Fremode, a division of Embracer Group, made the adaptive rights deal for the books, including The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, under a venture named Middle-earth Enterprises. A separate animated Middle-earth movie, The Lord of the Rings, War of the Rohirrim, is due in December. Warner Brothers and director Kenji
Kamiyama.
Yeah, said that movie is set 200 years before the events of The Hobbit. For over 2 decades, moviegoers have embraced the Lord of the Rings films trilogy because of the undeniable devotion Peter, Fran, and Philippa have shown towards protecting the legacy of Tolkien's works and ensure audiences could experience the incredible world he created in a way that honors his literary vision. Luke and Abdi said in a statement Thursday, "We are honored to have they have agreed to be our partners on these 2 new films, with Andy coming aboard to direct Lord of the Rings: Hunt for Gollum, continue an important commitment to excellence that is a true hallmark of how we all want to venture ahead and further contribute to the Lord of the Rings cinematic history." Jackson and Walsh also added, and with Boyens, "It is an honor and a privilege to travel back to Middle-earth with our good friend and collaborator Andy Serkis, who has unfinished business with that stinker Gollum. As lifelong fans of Professor Tolkien's vast mythology, we are proud to be working with Mike DeLuca, Pam Abdi, and the entire team at Warner Brothers on another epic adventure." And Andy Serkis said, "Last precious. The time has come once more to venture into the unknown with my dear friends, the extraordinary and incomparable guardians of Middle-earth, Peter, Fran, and Philippa." Wow, they're laying it on thick. "With Mike and Pam and Warner Brothers team on the quest as well, alongside Weta and our filmmaking family in New Zealand. It's all just too delicious." So, and then just,
this is very buttery.
This whole thing is a big fat fuck you to Amazon.
It does sound like a big, yeah, it does. I agree. This statement sounds not like just professional, but sounds like they are really trying to let you know that this is the Lord of the Rings. This is a Tolkien story. It is definitely using the right words.
Call me old-fashioned, but I think whatever they're going to put out with this announcement, I think all the orcs are going to know their genders.
Or their race.
Their gender.
But
pronouns are way more important than race, Tom. Have you learned nothing? Come on.
You gotta.
I don't know if it's going to be any good, though. I mean, I don't know if it's really necessary. It's nice to do a middle finger to Amazon, but do we really need this?
I see your point in that regard, Price. We do.
I see your point, and I raise you a fuck Amazon.
Yeah, here's the thing. I agree. We don't need it. We don't need it. Full stop. Now, if it ends up being good, great. That doesn't still mean we need it. It just happens to be a bonus. But no, we obviously we don't need this because it just goes to show you that no one in the upper echelon wants to really emphasize the original storytelling. They just want to continue to pump out sequels, prequels, spin-offs, rebootquels.
Well, make no mistake about it. This is so they can retain their rights to the stories. And not only that, this is going to be the Gollum on screen. Yes, Gollum's dead in the story as far as now. But what I think this is about, and the rumors that are coming out is that this will be about the time when they're chasing him down. When we see him being tortured in the beginning of Lord of the Rings, it'll be that time period just before that. So it'll be between The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. Because remember, they tortured him, and all he could get out of him was Baggins and Shire.
Yeah, of course. I do remember.
So that's what I think the story is going to be, is how they tracked him down and chased him down. So we'll see on that point. But we have no idea what the other movie is going to be yet either. No, I don't know about Gollum the game on screen. That thing turned out, that's funny because I actually knew somebody who was working on that early on. And when I saw the first trailer, I'm like, why didn't you fuckers have me come in and do the voice? And he's like, I didn't make that decision. I'm like, this thing looks like garbage. He's like, yeah, tell me about it. And I think he left the game eventually. He was so excited to be a part of it at first, though, because the voice was horrible. I'm like, I can pretty much do Andy Serkis. And I think he was kind of hinting that they couldn't do that. They had to stay as far away from it as they could or something like that. But anyway, that being said, I thought this was exciting news. Klobby, you've been quiet on this. I don't know if you're much of a Lord of the Rings fan, to be honest with you. I don't remember if we've talked about it much. Or did Klobby step away? He said BRB. Price, anything more to add to it?
No, I mean, I feel like I'm tired of all these kind of prequel and between trilogies and between movies. Either do something that really I'm interested in seeing, something new, something different. I don't know what they could have adapted, but I understand that Gollum is popular and Lord of the Rings is popular and Peter Jackson
my favorite character, and that's why I'm kind of biased. Yeah,
but really, I mean, is there something that they can now contribute that really I need to see in a movie between the two trilogies? I mean, I hope I'm wrong and Peter Jackson delivers something that stuns me, but this feels like a cash grab all across the board for everybody involved.
I hear you, and I'm not denying that. In fact, I know it's more of a rights grab than it is a cash grab, and I'm all for it.
Is.
See, that's the thing. It's because it's like I just think about Rings of Power for 2 seconds. It's like, yeah, that was some of the worst 20 minutes of my life. Fuck them. They deserve this shit.
That's the only redeeming quality here, that they can do a middle finger to Amazon. That's the only thing that's kind of pleasant.
The Hobbit wasn't all that great. Let's be real. Yes, if you cut down everything to what's in the book and distill it to that, I'm sure it's a great film. But outside of the first Hobbit movie, I haven't went back to revisit the sequels since they came out. I like the first one because most of what's in the first one is in the book. It's when they start deviating from the book is when really my favorite bit in the Hobbit is Riddles in the Dark, and they got that right. So that's all I give a shit about. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, that's the Gollum scene where he actually meets him in the pit or whatever.
I didn't hate that Hobbit trilogy. It's not as good as the Lord of the Rings trilogy, but it's still, I didn't hate it. It's not Rings of Power. It's just it's just not as good as Lord of the Rings, the real Lord of the Rings trilogy. But still, you know, the doing something that'll be like a Rogue One, like they're connecting between the trilogies. What do we? I never felt that I needed it.
Yeah,
I worry that. I do have a concern that I just, I don't know if Peter Jackson still has it in him to make this type of story. So even if you take out all the social political stigma of current year, I just don't know if his mindset is there to do this, because I think when the Lord of the Rings trilogy was made, I think it was just something about the timing. Everything was right guy, right cast, right place, right time, etc. And there's certain things you can only capture once, and I feel like the Lord of the Rings trilogy was one of those things you can only capture once. It doesn't mean that it can't be good again. I just feel like there's something about that special moment that cannot. It's not that it won't. It straight up cannot be replicated.
Yeah. Clobby, you're back. Did you have any feelings on this?
Not much. It's not really in my cup of tea. I like the original trilogy and couldn't really get into the other ones he did. So, but I do believe fans of this may be a nice reprieve from the Rings of Power trash. But other than that, I kind of agree with what was said here. I think it was Price was talking about this. Why do we really just need to keep rehashing stuff? I understand they're doing it for the rights. I get that, but it's not something that really excites me. But he is good, so it's possible it could be very good, and people who are into Lord of the Rings could enjoy it. But I don't think it's something I'll go out of my way to look at.
Yeah, like I get once again with the rights issue, but at the same time, it's just like, when are we just gonna let it go? Like, you know what? We done our story. Let it be. No one ever lets anything be at all.
Never, not even
anything anymore. And that's another thing that drives me crazy. I'm fine with certain stories continuing. I think there's a certain place for that in the world, but when it's every single story of every single IP, it's getting irritating. The same way every single character, and that's becoming almost literally. It's not literal right now, but it's almost literally where every character now has to have a background story, because no character can be a supporting character. Everyone has to have a main part. It's too much. We gotta Hollywood still won't see that it's still very bloated just off of these things alone. They won't cut back on anything. This is another thing that needs to be cut back. It isn't like there's a one issue with Hollywood right now. This is 1,000 issues going on. The whole quote of death by 1,000 paper cuts. This is just another continuing problem on top of the stars not being worth their box office draw to the weekends, on top of the assistants having the assistants, on top of the message. It's just ongoing. It needs to stop.
Good point. Good point.
I wish it wasn't. That's a thing. Like, we need more fresh ideas to rein in. Like, what, and that's the craziest part about it. As I've said once in a while here on the show, once upon a time, all these major IPs were an original idea. So the idea of, well, this already has a pre-established fan base. Yeah, once upon a time it didn't either. So let's do that again. Why? It makes no sense.
Indeed.
I wanted you guys. Why don't you guys pick up? I think Tom's doing something right now. Mike,
I'm here.
Oh, do you hear? Okay.
I just listen to you guys talk. Then we got Squirrel in the background here with a $20 Renos who says, why don't Warner Brothers adapt the Silmarillion instead? I don't want another trilogy stretching out into a thin script. Ugh. I think 6 might have a point about if they try to adapt the Silmarillion. It might be a little weird, but they could potentially. In this case, though, I think there's reasons for it. I think part of what they own, they can only do in certain eras and stuff like that, too. So we'll have to see. But anyway, yeah, we'll have to see how it works out with that Squirrel. From the Silmarillion side of things, I don't even know who has the rights to that right now.
Oh, is this a Gollum story? Is he referring to a Gollum story being like a really short story being stretched out? Is that what he's alluding to?
No. There's the Silmarillion, which is kind of like a text.
Okay. Sorry, I'm not deeply knowledgeable.
Trying to think of how to explain it. It's
like an
kind of like,
appendix.
an appendix. That's what I was kind of trying. I was like I said to say index, but it's not really an index. I was trying to think of the word. Yeah.
Finally, I did something good here.
Appendices or whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
I love this Avatar, by the way. That was a great movie. I loved Up.
And then we've got Rick Carrera, who's gifted a membership. Thank you so much, Rick Carrera, for that. We appreciate that. And then we got one more story here before we get to Apes. And I see Flash going off about it. That Elon Musk story is so fucking stupid. It is so fucking stupid, and it's not in the movie. I don't even know where they get the shit from.
Wow.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in just a little bit.
Well, he just posted that he said he could.
Where did the director confirm anything that I did not see anything about that. I read the article. They were asking the actor about it. He goes, why? Because people think I look like him. And he laughed it off a bit. He's like, yeah, we based it on a lot of different he goes, I watched a lot of charismatic speakers, and that's all it really referred to as far as Elon Musk. Don't do what that fucking stupid clickbaity site is doing, Yellow Flash, and feeding into this bullshit. It is not even fucking true. There's no lean in like there was with Ghostbusters or anything like that either. There's not even a monochrome of anything there. Unless they're trying to say just because the bad ape wants all the answers. If that's what they're trying to say is like Elon Musk, well then, so? They're trying to twist it like it's a bad thing. That's the thing. That's all they're doing. They're trying to create controversy.
Well, everything nowadays needs to be controversial.
Because there's nothing. In fact, if anything, they're trying to avoid talking about how religious this movie is. But we'll get to that in a few minutes here. So we got another quick story to get to first. Because this is something that's been kind of bouncing around. And I'd heard early on that this might be dead, but now it doesn't sound like it's as dead as we thought. But Brian Fuller did exit the show. So it sounds like Friday the 13th is still being shopped around by A24. And Brian Fuller has now stated the reason he exited was that A24 has elected to go a different way with the material. We hope the final product will be something Friday the 13th fans will enjoy all over the world. So basically what he's saying is they had creative differences and they're not doing his take on it, which I think is going to be a mistake. I have no idea what they're going to do. But at that point, I thought that was the better take on it. For those who may not remember, what Brian was going to do was his series was going to be more akin to Bates Motel, but instead of remaking the story or rebooting or anything like that, his series would take place around the movies. So it would actually feed into the movies and in between the movies and stuff like that from what he was saying. So I would imagine like the first season or two would have to do with young Pamela Voorhees and having Jason and dealing with after Jason drowned and stuff like that. And then you'd pick up somewhere in between some of the other films, because he did say we'd see Jason in various forms. But now it sounds like his version is off the table, and A24 is shopping it around with a different pitch. We don't know what that pitch is yet, so I don't know what your guys' takes on this. This is kind of a developing story. I don't know how many Friday the 13th fans I have on the panel with me here. This is something I've been following.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess I could say sort of a fan. I've seen all the movies and I kind of like it. I don't know if that makes me a fan, but it's not that I sit and watch them all day, but I do kind of like them. But I still feel like the first one was probably the one that I liked the best because it had the most merit. And maybe the next few I kind of like, but once they started with those number 4, A New Beginning, or I don't know what, those started really going downhill. Then it goes to New York, the one that he goes versus Freddy. Is this supposed to be within that same universe, or is it trying to recreate it, or is it rebooting it, or I don't even know what they're doing.
All I can answer was yes.
Same universe?
That's the way Brian sold it to us. Now I don't know if that's the case anymore. That's what I'm saying.
I would have been on board if it was like again. I don't really care about prequels anymore, and I don't want to. I wish maybe I'm just tired of all these rehashes. But I suppose if it was something about his background and the mother and him, maybe there was an interesting story to tell.
That was my hunch because, like I said, I would imagine like the first 2 seasons or first season or so would probably be like young Pamela Voorhees getting pregnant, because depending on which backstory you use, depending on where you take this, and I think they've decided the game is canon, so I don't remember how they have it in the game because I hadn't got that far yet. But either Jason's father is his grandfather, or she was just assaulted by somebody else, and then Elias comes in, who actually takes on the role of the father, but he's abusive and all this other shit. And then I would assume that would have been like the first season, is her getting pregnant, dealing with all that stuff, having Jason, realizing he's deformed, possibly even deformed from being abused by Elias. And then the second season, I would imagine they would probably end the first season with Jason drowning. And then I would assume the second season would pick up with all the times they tried to open Crystal Lake between then and the first movie, because there was a couple other incidences they mentioned in the first movie, like the lake was poisoned one year, and I can't remember what the other reason was they had it closed again. But then so there's those few incidences they could get into, and then you could pick up in between, like after part 2, like you could kind of pick up, in between 1 and 2, where you have like Jason see his mother get killed, and then we see how he survived all these years. You know what I mean? Like there's all kinds of things you could do that are around the films that could fill up 3-4 seasons easy, is my point. And if he's as much of a fan as I am, as the films, there's ways you can kind of intertwine and connect these things all together, and they still work. The only one that's kind of wonky is Jason Goes to Hell and Jason X. Those are the only two. But see, a lot of the backstory comes from Jason Goes to Hell. So it's kind of a weird, kind of thing. But anyway, there was novels and other things and comic books and stuff here and there that fed into the mythos over the years. But I think they had kind of decided at that point that the video game was going to contain most of the canon, because there's like the Pamela Voorhees tapes and stuff like that are in the
The only video game that I've ever played is the NES one, and man, that was a difficult game to play.
A few years ago from Gun Media or whoever put it out.
Have you ever played the NES one? That's like a weird
who
game.
hasn't?
That's a weird game.
If you know how to play it, it's not too bad. But if you're like going into it completely blind, it's a stupid game. Yeah.
No, I mean, I know how to play it, but man, it wasn't an easy game to play. They didn't make that game easy from what I
remember. Oh, no, they never did on Nintendo.
That's what was cool about Nintendo.
Tougher. Doesn't sound like anybody else has much to say about Friday the 13th but me and Price, though.
Is Corey Feldman going to be back?
I just, the only way you're going to ever get me interested in this is if you make a Jason X sequel in space again.
I don't know if they could pull that twice.
They can't, but it'd be funny.
I mean, I think you got the best you could do with Jason X is probably the best of the we're going to go to space movies, because it's just so batshit crazy. But it is, as a film goes, it is so out there. You can't even really consider it part of the actual franchise. And I don't really count the Hellraiser Goes to Space one, because that's not. That's barely Hellraiser Goes to Space. That's more of a flashback movie in the early, in the past than it is in the future. But yeah, you actually have to see the movie to understand.
Fair, since Hellraiser is more like magically supernatural involved, I can believe that concept more than Jason X. concept. I can buy that more. So that would make more sense. Not that it should happen. Not giving you ideas, Hollywood. Just saying between the two, that one makes more sense.
Well, I'm just worried what A24 is going to do with this. Because I liked the take that Brian had for better or worse. And now it's like, well, what are they going to do? I don't know. Probably try and reboot it somehow. So the other rumor going around, because here's the thing, the way the split goes, the original writer owns Jason, all the storylines and characters and stuff like that. The only thing he doesn't own is Friday the 13th, the title. Sean Cunningham actually has Friday the 13th, the title. Now, rumor going around is he's working on a new Friday the 13th movie, but the gimmick will be that it surrounds like urban legends and stuff like that and bad luck on Friday the 13th kind of thing.
So it's not going to have
completely away from Jason and all that stuff. Yeah.
This reminds me of James Bond, Never Say Never Again, but worse.
Again. Yeah. Or kind of how Schwarzenegger's not whatchamacallit, Conan in Red Sonja.
Oh yeah.
Not Conan. I'm a different name, but I'm still like Conan. Don't call me Conan. Though. You can't say the name.
Yeah.
Shut up. Don't call me Conan. Shut up.
I kill you still.
I kill you. You dirty bastard. You son of a bitch.
I still have a pizza shop. Shut up.
It's still, since everybody's talking about shit being in space.
It's a combination of Dirty Dozen, Seven Samurai, and Star Wars in space.
Oh, Jesus.
Zack Snyder movies are why bad things happen to good people.
I guess he never said that'll be on the stars, huh?
Oh my God. Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh over your clobby, but that was...
No, you're good. That was good. Thank you. That's true, actually.
It's not even like, it's like, are you making a threat or are you just saying it as a...
as an observation?
It's like Nick's lost. He's at the end of his line. He's like, if Zack Snyder makes one more fucking movie...
I'm going to take a hostage if he makes another movie.
I'm going to have to end some shit.
Yeah, well, what's he making next? I wonder. Oh, we never know.
3, probably.
3?
I don't know. Seriously.
He hadn't announced it yet? Seriously? He hasn't announced something?
Yeah, I hope someone does clip
Can't
that.
wait.
That could just be played on repeat. See, for me, Zack Snyder is the way, what's his name? Norm Macdonald has O.J. Simpson. It's repetitive, it's cliche, but it's always deserved.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Oh, Lord. All right. Well, speaking of good things happening to bad people or bad things happening to good people, we got a movie to talk about here. Price and I have seen it.
Yes.
Paulie was supposed to be popping in here. He's seen it too, but I don't know if he's coming or not. But oh, Jesus, Sadie.
Uh-oh.
I don't know
Has Sadie seen it?
Yeah, she is not happy.
Sadie didn't like it.
We got Invisible Dragon or a cat.
Uh-oh.
All right, sorry about that. Sergeant Point Blank sends in $2 though and says machete kills in space. That's right. And then we've got Eldritch Lord Haster sending in a super sticker before we get into the monkey news. And it's a little Shiba dog smiling. Thank you so very much for that. We appreciate that. And yeah, with that, I don't know if anybody has to check out before we get into this. We're not going to get into major spoilers or anything, probably. Just kind of preliminary talks.
Oh, I want to hear
so
you guys
want to stick around and ask some questions.
I want to hear what you guys have to say about this. I'm curious.
All right, well, let's start first of all, Price, with where we come from as far as the franchise goes. The what I'm going to be dubbing the Caesar trilogy going forward, which was the last 3 films. So let us know how you felt about that before you give us kind of your overall thumbs up, thumbs down on the new one.
I like the Caesar trilogy. I thought that I saw all 3 movies in the theater right when they came out. I enjoyed all 3 of them. I thought the first one was the best. I know maybe people do or don't like, but I liked with James Franco and John Lithgow and everything that was going on in the first one. I really liked the way it was put together. The second one was not as good as the first one, but I still like it. And the third one was not as good as the second one, but or maybe it was
Right.
kind of like the second one, but I still didn't. I liked it. It had Woody Harrelson in it, and I think it was a fitting end to that trilogy. And I actually didn't feel like I needed another movie. I wasn't itching for this fourth movie, which is like I guess it's starting a new trilogy, or it's the one after this, or whatever it is.
It has potential to start a new trilogy of
I
sorts,
guess,
or something
yes.
like that. Yeah.
I guess it has potential to start a new trilogy. So that's how I felt. I mean, you asked, so I answered that question.
How about the original series with of course, Charlton Heston and so on and stuff like that?
That's a classic. That's a classic, of course.
Greatness.
Yeah, see, because I consider like the original Planet of the Apes is on the same field as like Gone with the Wind, Godfather, Wizard of Oz,
Yes.
Planet of the Apes.
Classic movie.
It's like, it's one of those movies that's just always going to be. It's iconic. I mean, you look up the term iconic, it's underneath there. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
So right.
And same thing with like I feel exactly the same way you do about the Caesar trilogy. I thought it was brilliant. I thought Rise of the Planet of the Apes is the only film that rose anywhere near the original film, which is the only one that I'll give a perfect 10 out of 10 score out of those films. But I agree with you too. 2 and 3 are a little bit of a step down. But I couldn't tell you which one was probably better or worse than 2 or 3. I like aspects of both of them. I'd probably say that 3 is a little bit better just because I love Steve Zahn as Bad Ape. I think he's such a great character.
That's fair.
So
maybe
that's probably why I lean a little bit more towards the third one a little bit, maybe. And I don't like the guy that's in the second one who always plays. He's in everything anymore, and I can't even think of his fucking name. But he played John Connor in the one Terminator movie too. I just don't really care for him as an actor.
Jai Courtney?
No. The other guy, the guy that played the bad John Connor in one of the last Terminator movies. Not the last one, but the Genesis.
There were like 7 last Terminator movies.
I know, but he's the guy the main guy in the second Planet of the Apes film. Jason Clarke, I think is his name.
Jason Clarke. Okay.
Yeah.
With John Connor, you have to be more specific. They rebooted that like 20 times.
Like, and Kerry Russell was in that one too, and that one felt very kind of. It was okay, but it was like not like it just felt like kind of like they were trying to make it more Hollywood, where like the Rise of the Planet of the Apes was like, we're gonna try something here. We're not sure if it's gonna work. We're gonna try something. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
and it did. And it was like, holy shit, not only did you make the story work, because you took what was arguably, and I'm sure Klobby would agree, because he's the one who's like, even though I have a special place for 4 and 5 of the original Planet of the Apes films, but you basically took those stories and you did like they did with The Fly and Scarface and stuff like that. And you took what elements worked and you really made the rest of it work with that, instead of diving into the goofier side of things like they did with the last couple Apes films.
Conquest and Battle, especially Battle was actually terrible though. Conquest has some good things in it, but
so what they did is took those elements and started there, right, and built from that. And we have Paulie finally joining us as well. Hey, Paulie.
Hey.
Oh, Paulie.
Hey, you got
what's
to
up?
see it as well. We're
buddy.
actually we haven't even got to how we feel about the film, so your timing's perfect. We were just talking about how we felt about the first original films in the Caesar trilogy, as I'm calling it now. And I went to see them as they come out. And actually, I got to see a special fan event for the third film, where I got to see all 3 films in the same day in theaters, plus the third film early. So I was really jazzed up about it anyway. So I did. It was a really awesome experience. Like, I'm one of those will say that I'll hold that Caesar trilogy up there with some of the best trilogies we've ever had, like Back to the Future, etc. Stuff like that. So again, I had a lot of high expectations kind of going into this movie, but I also tried to temper them quite a bit. Mm-hmm. So so let's talk about how we feel about this fourth film, because it is a fourth film. But at the same time,
is it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally is. It picks right up where the last film left off and then jumps a few generations ahead. But because it's not even really that spoilerific, because it's literally where the film starts out. You get to see, the funeral of Caesar, right?
Like, cool.
Right.
Yes, and he hovers over the film. And this
big time
actually made me look at that trilogy a little bit differently. And we'll get into that probably a little bit, but let's just give initial reactions. So Paulie, how did you feel about the Caesar trilogy? How did you feel about the original films going into this? How big of a fan you were and all that kind of stuff? That's what we initially had started with.
Yeah, I'm a fan. I really like the Caesar trilogy. I enjoyed myself with them. And growing up as a little kid, the movies just really, kind of creeped me out in a good way. I was like, whoa, shit's weird. Charlton Heston was great, but listen, I really like this film. It has shortcomings, but they're minor for me, and they might be major for other people. I really dug the actors, the voice work, the story, the characters. I did feel it did labor on. It was maybe a little too long. I mean, without really, getting into details. Yeah. And of course, it's a spectacle as far as, the look and feel of the film.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could start there, and then I'll send it off to you, Price. So my initial reaction is I did like it. I was even kind of nitpickingly looking for little things like to pick out of it, and like I'll say first and foremost, like that Elon Musk thing is full of shit. That is the biggest bunch of horse shit I ever saw, because the motivations of the bad guy is made absolutely clear, and who he studies and who he's trying to be and all that kind of stuff. So that's made very clear in the film. So I don't even know where they're coming up with that other than to just create a clickbaity headline. But that aside, like my biggest gripes with the film are the length. You're right about that. This is the longest so far of all the films. This one's like 2 hours and 20 minutes, which I think beats the third film by just a little bit. And the other gripe was I didn't feel like the main lead actor was that charismatic, and they didn't give him, I guess, what he needed for me to get into his character. He feels like he's just carrying the weight of the plot more than anything. Mistake by not letting Andy Serkis play that role. Because to me, one of the biggest things that's cool, and Claudia and I think you and I talked about this the other night, one of the things that's cool about the original series of films and the TV series and all that stuff is that Roddy McDowall was always kind of that torchbearer.
Yeah.
And he was always there. He played,
Brilliant.
Cornelius, then he played his son as Caesar, and then he played Galen on the series.
Yes.
So even though he played different characters, he was always there. And I kind of felt like that is where they made a mistake. They should have let Andy Serkis play. And I know they're trying to make him a young character, but Andy played Caesar young, so I don't see why he couldn't. But to me, it just didn't feel like he was pulling me in. But I loved everybody around him, like you said. Everybody they cast around him seemed brilliant. There's a couple characters I really liked a lot. Raka, or whatever his name is probably the standout that everybody likes, and I can see why. And he's played by the guy who plays Bortus on Orville. I thought it was Lawrence Fishburne. I was talking about this last night. Like, I never realized how much he sounded like Lawrence Fishburne, because I was convinced that was Lawrence Fishburne. like
Fishburne.
I know fucking Morpheus when I hear him.
Yeah, good Fishburne imitation there, yeah.
But no, he just happens to have that kind of voice. And when he's not doing the Bortus impression, he just sounds normal. So, like, anyway, speaking of abnormal, we got Brian here.
Speaking of apes, yes, I'm here.
And Apes, yes. You didn't get a chance to see it, did you?
Not yet, no, but I'm actually quite interested. It does sound
yes,
pretty good, yeah.
So let's hear the guy who actually doesn't like anything ever. Price, what did you think?
Price?
I think that I was rather disappointed with it. It had ideas in it which I didn't dislike, and there were moments that I didn't dislike. But first of all, you mentioned the length. It is way too long. And the first maybe 30, 40 minutes until this thing starts moving, the pacing is so slow at times.
You're the second person to say that.
When the first movie, it had a nice balance of humans and CGI. Once you're dealing with so much CGI, and like you said, Tom, this guy, whoever did this ape stop motion and whatever it is, the facial, what's it called when they mocap, whatever it is, wasn't as charismatic as Andy Serkis was. So I wasn't really drawn to his character as much. Maybe it's the writing or the performance, or the voice, or all of them together. And the pacing is slow, and it's taking its time. Even the actress that came along, the one that was Ciri in The Witcher, I mean, she was all right, I guess, but it's not like you see her and she's some kind of like huge ball of charisma. So between the slow pacing, the length of the movie, the uncharismatic performances, and the fact that like the plot here wasn't anything too fresh or revolutionary. I guess towards the third act, it started getting a bit better. There were parts that I liked better, but overall, I felt like there were times that I felt that it was a bit of a chore, and I didn't have the kind of feeling I did when in the Caesar trilogy. It's not a movie that I would give a failing grade to, but I also wouldn't give it like high praises.
My thing there is in the third act, I felt like we're getting a lot of shades of the last film. Like the climax is almost exactly like the last film, but not exactly. It's once you see it, you'll know what I mean. But yeah,
I actually
maybe that's why I tolerated it.
Yeah, I actually disagree with Price in regards to the first 40 minutes. I thought the first 40 minutes, I actually thought the first hour was just completely riveting. I think when they went on the journey to now the spoilers, that to me where it felt getting a little old hat. It was good, but it was a little old hat. I actually was disappointed in the whole setup of the kingdom, the look and feel, the king himself. I loved that this idea of generations have passed, many generations have passed, and different clans have just branched out, kind of like after, Adam and Eve, leave the Jesus. Adam.
Well, here's
Garden
the
of
thing
Eden. Garden
yeah,
of Eden.
there is,
and they generations forget that they're related. Generations forget that they're connected. I thought that was awesome. And then the rituals and the sacraments and what this clan does, I really enjoyed that stuff.
I will say this: there is a heavy allegory in there. If anything, like I said, it made me look back at the first trilogy and go, "Oh, that's clearly the Moses story." Now that you look at it, the Exodus story, all that kind of stuff with him creating, the original Planet of the Apes kind of situation, and then this, it's almost a little too on the nose. You have the character's name Noah, for fuck's sake. I mean, it's a little more on the nose, and you have this whole, not to get too deep into it, but beyond the main plot that's going on, the character we brought up, Raka, he is actually kind of like this monk-ish kind of character who's actually carrying the word of Caesar. And of course, you have the bad ape, who I forget his name, but he also calls himself something Caesar.
Proximus.
Proximus, yeah. And see, he's perverting the word of Caesar. Correct. Right? And I talked a little bit about this with Michelle of Force of Lightning, because she's, a doctor in this stuff. And I brought all this stuff up to her, and she's like, yeah, there's a lot of, I can see, she's like, where you're getting a lot of the heavy analogies. And she brought up a few things. And she said, some of this even looks like it's more from the Jewish perspective. And I could understand possibly why. Depending on if the writer is Jewish or not, I could see that and certain things that it looks like they may be. So yeah, to me, I felt like that was a little more heavy-handed in this film. But again, I actually liked it more like you did, Paulie. Again, though, I would put this on like a 7 or an 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
As opposed to like 7.5. The first 3 films, like the first one was a 10 out of 10. The second one and third one are like 8s out of 10. This is like a 7 or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I give it a 7.5. Last night I gave it a 7. Slept on it. I liked it a little bit more, and I do want to see it again.
So no, I haven't seen it yet, but could it be Price that the setup being several hundred years later, that they have to take some time to explain that? That might be, it feels a little slower. I mean, what's the world building like in the first act? Is it?
I just feel like whatever it is that they did in this movie, first of all, hire a different editor. There were ways of certain scenes of moving things along a little quicker. There were times I just felt, and I'm like, this is too slow. And at 2 hours and 30 minutes is too long for a movie like this.
Absolutely.
There's no reason. It could have been done in 2 hours. Already 2 hours, you improve the movie significantly. But I still also think that because of what I said at the beginning, it's not that there isn't an interesting story to tell. It's just something about the execution doesn't draw me in as much as it could have. It had a lot more potential than what I feel like we ended up getting. But it's not a disaster in the sense that it's not a terrible movie. It's just kind of okay instead of like what the Caesar movies were, which like were actually good.
Yeah, I mean, I see your point. It was almost as if now we're going to cross a river. It's like, why are we even having this? We know what's going to happen.
Right.
Now we meet the other human. I mean, it's like, come on, let's just get to it.
There was a little of that. I didn't have as much issue with the pacing, but
I did, yeah. But that being said, it's almost as if it was two films in one. Like that first part was just so different than the second one. I really enjoyed.
Well, I mean, I guess if we're gonna say if there's anything like
the Eagle Clan.
Yeah, like if there's anything kind of woke-ish, and I wouldn't even go that far, I would say you really have to pick hard to find it.
No, I didn't feel that. If to
Yeah.
give the movie a compliment, I didn't feel like it was preaching or doing all this kind of
No.
2024 propaganda thing. I
No.
feel like there was escapism here. It was a movie within this genre and within this series. In that sense, it's fine. It's just that, like I said, it feels like a missed opportunity.
To me, I don't know about a missed opportunity so much as I just felt like at first it felt like, okay, we're going to get a story that's a little bit more grounded than, you know, because obviously the last two felt so huge. But then we get to that third act and you realize that it's a lot bigger goings on. And that's where I felt like the film was leaning. Maybe this is why you feel like it feels like two films. It's like all of a sudden it's like, okay, now we're getting back to the big, huge, bombastic stuff of the last two Apes films.
The big world. Yeah.
Yeah, the big, you know, the big booms and all that stuff. And you have of course, you have to have your action sequences the way they are. And look, I'm not going to spoil too much, but let's be real here. You got the name Noah, and there's going to be a fucking flood, y'all. Like, come on.
Yeah, a little too on the nose. But
and that's what kind of reminded me of how they finished off the battle at the end of the last one, because the avalanche instead of it being water. But yeah,
I did like I did like how the Eagle Clan, like how the Eagles, like, you know, kind of that rap back.
I was gonna say that stuff was kind of like leaning into like the Native American kind of thing. So I guess I was gonna say if there's anything you could say, but it works. Like that's the thing, is I wouldn't call it woke. I would say it just works for the, you know, like you said, for where they're at in their history. Yeah, I
mean, they become, you know, they become these different kind of, if you will, indigenous populations, clans, villages that have their own rituals and stuff like that. And this particular clan, they're connected to eagles, which I thought that was cool. But yeah, if anything, it was just preaching about our humanity, our morality, mercy,
the twisting of words of leaders and famous people for your own nefarious reasons. Like that's kind of what the bad guy comes in.
Did you guys get at all like Noah's time with Raka, that there was like I got a very Obi-Wan Luke vibe?
A little bit. I mean, he's clearly setting him up with a bigger task than his initial task. Right?
I like that. I really liked it.
See, because that's where the movie kind of kicks into gear, and I think that's where Price is coming from. Where this movie, I don't want to gripe about too much Price, because it actually does do some things that some movies we bitch about that don't do, and that is just show us what the life is like for our main character before all this chaotic shit happens, right? Because you could have started this movie right when they first get attacked, or you could have started this movie somewhere in that area, but you didn't have to. We've got to see what their life was like, the little building of, you know, and it also may feel that way because we start out with the funeral of Caesar and then jump, and it literally says a few generations later,
right?
Like it doesn't even specify exactly where you're at. It just says a few generations later. And I've seen some other people that were like, I don't know if I want to see it again. It's just probably going to be apes versus humans again. I'm like, well, no, it's more of an apes versus apes thing this time out. There are human elements to it. And that's another thing I'll give credit to the movie for, is I thought they were going to lean in one direction with the main female lead character, and they went another direction. So I'll give them more credit for having the balls not to try and make this, you know, wham and power movie.
No, they didn't do that. I agree with you.
Yeah, a couple things with that. She didn't really charismatically, you know, like didn't really.
I didn't really care for her character, but I don't think you're supposed to like her character, was my point too.
No, but the actress also didn't like. I didn't really like her in The Witcher that much. I don't hate her, but
Cirilla? Is it Cirilla?
Yeah, it's Cirilla from The Witcher. She's now in this thing, and the only thing positive that I can say is that they didn't give her kind of like the SJW haircut. But aside from that, she looked like a woman. I guess that she can get a few points on that. She did look like a woman.
And did you notice, though,
is a novelty?
Yeah. Did you notice, though, that back at her home camp, who was all in charge?
The maid.
That's true.
But they don't make a big deal about all that stuff either. That's what I'm saying. Like, you even have a main female ape in this movie, even though we've technically had female apes before, but I don't know if they really were established as female or not. I mean, we had Cornelia.
Suna.
But like
the new-
Maurice has always made me question because it was played by a woman.
You've had Zero, but yeah, those are Zero.
Well, yeah, well, that was in the originals, but I mean, we haven't got. And that was another thing too. Is I like how they've played with names in this, but we didn't get any of the names or build up. And I was kind of disappointed that we didn't get to follow up with Cornelius and his his story. But evidently, he must not have amounted to shit. That's kind of what we get to here, because we've gotten to this point in the story where, like we said, he's basically Cornelius has gone. Or, I mean, not Cornelius. Caesar's almost gone from being like this Christ-like figure to almost more of a. I mean, well, he went from being a Moses figure to more of a Christ-like figure now, is what I was trying to say. Because before he was just leading the apes, he left, he set them free from their cages and their bonds, and he showed them to the new land. And of course, he led them through the battle until he built the actual kingdom and all that kind of stuff. And then here we are this many generations later, and he's still being talked about, but he's being used and abused as far as by these other apes. And then you have Raka, who actually he considers to be holding the actual true word of Caesar. And he's trying to teach that to this young buck, Noah. And that's where I see the Obi-Wan Luke thing. It's very much, if you want to, take the Force instead and put it as the New Testament of the apes, however you want to put it.
Just Caesar's word. Yeah.
Yeah. Caesar's law, whatever.
Practicing, compassion and mercy to this echo, to this human. No, some cool stuff.
There's a lot of heavy stuff going on in that respect, but like I said, it's a little more obvious and on the nose than it was in the first trilogy as far as where they're getting their inspiration from.
But man, I saw it on an IMAX screen. It was just a ride. It was just wonderful to watch.
That was the one thing I was disappointed with, is our local IMAX didn't get it. I got to see it on a DLX screen with Dolby Atmos.
Oh, that's
but I didn't get it on the IMAX, because this one I know had some IMAX scenes in it, or was shot in IMAX.
What'd you think of the score?
Oh, that's the other thing I wanted to ask you guys, because this is the thing I kind of had mixed feelings about. And I know Klobby's going to find this interesting. There's at least 3 or more straight callbacks to the original 1960s Planet of the Apes film, down to the point where we have almost a shot-for-shot remake of the scene where Taylor and the other humans get attacked. They're even using the Goldsmith music. And
Goldsmith
and all that shit right down to the shot. And then they even have a shot. Yeah, the whole thing. And they even have a shot looking down at the beach with everybody coming up on horses. It's from the behind of the crown of the bad guy, but it's not, but it's just like the shot of the crown of Liberty looking down. And there's a lot of that kind of stuff in the movie, some of the music. Cool. So I'm curious how some of the fans are going to feel about that. Because I mean, it does make it feel a little bit more Planet of the Apes. I will say that, because it's been a while since I've heard the Goldsmith score in an Apes film.
Wow, yeah.
I agree. There was definitely some shots, some angles, that reminded me of when you first saw the mean ape in Heston. And they're in that field, and they have a duplicate field scene in this, so some of that reminded me of
that. That whole scene, like that's what I was talking about, was like almost shot for shot.
That was pretty cool. I just didn't like the human girl. That's
she's not a great character, but like I said, I'm not sure what they're. That's the thing, is I don't dislike her because you're not meant to like her.
And you're not really happy with how she executed her mission at the end of the day. I mean, I didn't. So we're gonna definitely the setup for another movie is really there. Did you guys stay for the whole credits at the end?
No, because I read that there was just an audio cue. What was the audio cue?
It was either, I'm thinking it was Proximus who snorted.
It was just a snort.
It was like a snort, right? I think Nicholas Horton watched it. Did you stay for the whole time?
I was expecting it to actually be something to say like, "This is the Icarus. This is the Icarus. Does anybody read us?" or something like that. That's what I thought it was going to be.
No. It was just an ape grunt or something like that.
Nah.
Yeah, it was. I stayed because I was like,
Nah, I wasn't going to stay for that because it was like 10 minutes of credits. Like, fuck that.
Right, I was in a hurry too.
I checked to see if there was anything afterwards, and I'm like, they're not. It's just an audio cue. I'm like, it doesn't say what it is. I'm like, well,
you
it
looked
can't
it
be
up
that
online while
important.
you're waiting there. Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
that
I didn't know
sometimes.
what it would be, if it would be something like somebody screaming a name, or it
Yeah.
would be like somebody going Taylor, or somebody like I said, you'd hear like, this is Icarus. Does Earth hear us? Can you hear us? Can you hear us? Or something like that. You know what I mean? But we're still
now-
a ways off from that too. That's the other
way
thing that,
off. Yeah.
yeah, we're still, because this movie, we got to remember, these movies are taking place within a couple hundred years of each other at the most. And Taylor shows up 3,000 fucking years in the future. So we're a ways off yet.
Yeah, I dug how there's groups of humans that
Or 2,000 years. Is it 2,000 or 3,000? I can't remember now.
Right.
Is there not technology still? Isn't it in with satellite technology still?
That's kind of part of this story without getting too deep into it.
So that stuff survived for 200 or 300 years.
Well, we don't know.
Kind of, yeah.
And I
We don't
did
know,
have
okay.
questions about some like how far in the future are we? Because there's certain things that just wouldn't stand the test of time.
Okay.
So I was like, wait a minute. But I kind of let that go. I don't know if you guys looked into that at all when you were watching it, Price.
Some of that stuff I can buy, some of it I can't. Depends on what it is, how it was preserved.
2000.
There's a lot of older electronics were built to last.
Yeah, but 200 or 300 years without maintenance.
You that's just it. Depending on the where they were stored. If they were stored in a good enough place, it might not need the maintenance. It all depends on what you're.
Okay, all right. Can we do one spoiler in regards to that?
I don't see why.
Many generations. I'm not getting anything more than many generations after Caesar's death.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So it could be 100 years. It could be 300 years. See,
It could be one too many.
Many. It could just be at least 3, right? Which at least 100 years.
I was thinking like just a couple hundred at least.
Okay, so let's just say if it's even 100 years, and they're living by the sea, the salt air, how the F is William H. Macy's books gonna survive at all?
Well, he wasn't there the whole time. He was captured and brought there.
No, but they had the whole bookcase, the bookshelves of books, and you saw the Vonnegut book
library and stuff.
Even concrete bunkers would start to crumble a bit.
Because in his room, which was like one of the nicer rooms, all the rooms of the kingdom, they all had major holes facing the ocean, like there was no walls. That's what I'm saying. Like, wait a minute.
Maybe like logistically
surviving.
It depends, like, because they're not really clear on where we're at exactly. Too, we get some hints, but not exactly. I was trying to figure out exactly.
They
where
printed They printed those books good in the old days.
Well, because there's nothing to, unless you guys caught something I didn't. There wasn't really anything to let us know. Are we in like New York? Are we in San Diego? Are we in Florida? What coast are we on? Where we're at. That's what I was thinking too. But like, see, because the original films though obviously take place in the Upper East Coast because of New York. It's right outside of New York, obviously. So yeah. Yeah, because I mean the main plot is like I said, it works for the film. It's probably the weakest bit as far as what the bad guy wants, how they built it up, and all that kind of stuff. As far as the stupid Elon Musk stuff, it's just clickbaity headlines. Unless you guys seen something I didn't.
I agree. I wouldn't have
other
thought
than
of
his
it.
quest for knowledge, because that's really what he's after.
Okay, so I didn't see this movie, but do you think maybe there was an intention for it to be an Elon Musk type of character, and just the way it tended out not to be that way? Do you think maybe
I got some more info.
Because things like that can happen. You could always say, well, we intended for this to happen, and then maybe what someone intends to do plays out a bit differently, sometimes completely differently. Go ahead, Paulie.
Oh, hey, Mike's gone. I put you in the private chat. He's cool, but he asked if you could just take him off the stream. No, I got some intel. I mean, it's on their Wikipedia. As far as set during the Dark Ages, apes rediscover last items from the past. 300 years following Caesar's death.
Oh, 300. Okay.
There you go.
That's a considerable time.
That's roughly 350 to 40. It's 400, closer to 400 years since the
It
actual.
may, it may as well have been
first
5
film.
minutes after his death. Nothing happened that made me think that it was, you know, I don't know. Fine, okay. They say it's 300, 400 years. I didn't really feel like they did something that really sells me on that idea.
So Paulie, you've obviously put in the private chat the thing about Apocalypto, and I'd read that. I haven't seen the movie, so is he mean there's a visual inspiration from Apocalypto, or what is he referring to?
He said time frame, and
Mm.
when I got out of the theater last night, that's one of the movies I brought up as well, just in regards to a kind of a clan that's really kind of just disconnected from any of the other clans that has serenity and
Okay.
peace with their environment so much, and then they are literally they're raided, either
Dragged
killed,
into another world, yeah.
either killed
Yeah.
or taken away, enslaved by
Yeah.
other apes. And then I'm sorry guys, we're kind of giving the spoilers when Noah sets off to go find his clan,
Which is kind of where I felt like it kind of felt like the last film, because that's a lot of what happened in the last film.
So
Because
that's
Caesar gets all pissed off about what happens, goes after the sergeant or whatever they call him.
Mhm.
And then in the process of that, his group gets kidnapped by them. So then it turns from his revenge story into having to save his entire group of
that
apes
explains
again.
the Apocalypto reference. Yeah, I get it now.
And I
You see,
just
the
felt
third
that
film
too.
was basically The Great Escape meets Apocalypse Now, which is
Yeah.
kind of funny because I called it Apocalypse Now back then.
No, Apocalypto, not Apocalypse.
No, I know, but this one is more
Oh, the third
Apocalypto.
one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
this is
third.
yeah. No, I get what you're saying. That's what I'm saying, because like that's the funny thing is like that one was like that. This one is kind of like that, but then it kind of swerves into the same kind of third act as the last film. That's the only time where I kind of felt like you couldn't have come up with something different than this. Like, but okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of where the movie kind of fell off a little bit for me, but otherwise I still feel it's a solid film, especially, considering it's coming out of Disney. The effects were really solid. There was a few rubbery effects here and there in comparison to the first three films, but considering the shit that we've gotten out of Marvel and everything else lately, I cannot complain about the effects at all. The story is pretty solid. Christ, I can't disagree that it could probably use a good few minutes cut out of it, but overall I thought the film was fine. And as far as pacing wise, does it really need to be 2 hours and 25 minutes? No. But
yeah. Definitely felt
That's a
it, but-
long film, yeah. Long.
considering Rise was only an hour and 45 minutes, that come from an era when that was the average for an action film.
And Proxima was played by Kevin Durand, great Canadian
Yes.
actor. Was he good? Good in the
Fantastic.
role? Yeah. It's
Yeah,
nice to
I
see him.
loved him in Abigail.
Yeah, he's great.
You guys want to see Kevin in something?
I thought I heard that Ron Perlman was supposed to be in this. Was he? Because the IMDb is like very incomplete still on who's in this movie and who's not. Because I was trying to figure out through the whole movie who people were, and I didn't feel like
see
staying
him
for
on
the.
the Wikipedia. I don't see him at
Okay.
all.
I was trying to remember. I was trying to remember who they had said was cast in it, but and I thought maybe he was the dad, but I wasn't sure. No, he's not in it. Okay. Yeah, because they didn't really give us a lot going into this movie as far as who was all in the cast and who played who and what. Because I looked up the IMDb and it's like scarce as fuck. I'm like, okay, well that tells me nothing.
I think they spent more money on the apes than the actors.
Hey,
Well, let's see what you guys are talking about out there. Matthew Valenti sends in $10. Says, I disagree if I find the original Planet of the Apes to be highly overrated and Charlton Heston can't act. I think the reboot trilogy is much better. I would even go as far as to go all films with a 10. I don't know about that. But,
Charlton Heston can act. I mean,
Wow, hot
you may
take
be
there.
looking at kind of older movies and trying to look at it through the lens of 2024 more modern style acting. But I think Charlton Charlton Heston.
He was great playing a Mexican, that's for sure.
No, Touch of Evil. No,
best
hell out.
Mexican ever.
Touch of Evil.
Matthew Valenti sends in another 5. Thank you so much. Says, can we all just agree that apes are amazing species, not just animals, but as individuals? Yeah.
Mhm.
Sure.
And then Matthew says also the original Planet of the Apes reboot trilogy are not connected in any way, shape, or form. From these are not reimaginings, not prequels. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, he's doing a lot.
He's got another one. He says with another 5. Thank you for the support. Says I don't care after having to set through garbage after garbage recently. If it's a solid film, it's a great enough for me.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was saying
Absolutely.
too. Like I got to give it complete props for that.
Yeah,
absolutely, Matthew. And I'll even say in our interview, in our written article on our website, Rosa Parra wrote that, the Caesar trilogy is terribly underrated, and it's probably one of the best trilogies in the last 30 years.
Well, that's what I was saying before you came in here. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry.
No. I was just agreeing with her and your statement there, because I don't think it does get enough props. And it was one of the reasons why going into the Batman, I thought the Pattinson was going to be the only problem, because Matt Reeves did those last 2 films and they were pretty solid, picking up, where Rupert Wyatt had started off with. But yeah, I mean, this guy, Wes Ball, he did all right with this one. So
I'm looking forward to a second one to see if it really picks up. Like, because you got everything established. All right, let's go. You got the humans, and you got Noah, so you got the Eagle Clan. Yeah. Do you think you guys think it's gonna do well at the theater this weekend? What's up?
That's a good question, because my theater was probably, I wouldn't say half full, but just below half full. But for a Wednesday night preview screening event thing, being at a Wednesday night, I don't think that's that bad. And it's and the weather up until today, the last couple days of weather we'd had here in this area have been the best we've had all year. So like the fact that there was even that many people in the theater was kind of surprising, because not that many people had even bought in tickets before. I was the first person to buy tickets, and then I started seeing them fill up around me. But that's really all we had, was that main kind of middle area filled up and a few up in the back. But maybe roughly half, close to it. But they all cheered at the end, which was kind of weird. Because I agree with Mr. H, who said earlier, like, who are you clapping to? I don't get that with that. And I kind of agree with that. Like, I don't understand that. As American audiences have always kind of done that. I've never been one of those people to really clap unless I really, really enjoyed something. And it was more of a clap of just excitement than it was, like clapping for bravo, or anything like that.
I'm looking here at 3 different AMC screens that are not in LA, like Santa Anita, Montebello, Monterey Park. Those are all outside of LA county, city, so to speak. They're all filling up.
There were only 2 people in my theater, and oddly, once the movie was over, they clapped, just like you said, which is weird because they were only 2 there, and I just kind of looked at them. And
were they clapping because they enjoyed it, or they were relieved it was over?
I have
they actually enjoyed it.
Yeah,
and it felt like the buzz around it was, and there was a lot of laughs. The laughs landed when there was like some chuckly moments. I mean, I wouldn't say there's like ha 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 belly laughs in the movie, but there's like a bit where like, okay, I can give this away. I guess it's not too spoilery. Like, Noah learns the word shit, for instance, and like that's used well throughout like the 2 or 3 times that it's placed, right? It's done just,
and it's not
like,
overdone.
those kind of moments play well. So that kind of stuff works throughout the film and shit like that. So yeah.
And some of the just what he was able to pull off was pretty wild. I thought it was pretty cool,
See, it even made Nick just laugh just telling him about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I decided to look at some screenings off some fairly decent sized towns and specific locations. So I looked at this one town called Schaumburg. It's got one of the biggest malls in all of the country, and it's one of those few malls that more than 5 people go to. And the screenings at that Streets of Wheel Theater look at the very minimum. A lot of them are at least half filled. And I'm not even talking about Friday night. I'm talking about Thursday night. So I'm like, okay, that's actually pretty good. Then I looked at a town called Rosemont, which is a city that's literally right next to Chicago. It's pretty much the town when people get off O'Hare Airport. That's the town you're landing, is Rosemont. And the Rosemont theaters are pretty good. They're not, like obviously like Spider-Man where they're all sold out, but they're definitely not like 1 or 2 seaters like the Marvel.
How are you from Chi-Town?
Huh? Because
how far are you from Chi-Town?
I'm about an hour away. So if I
want
to
got
go Rosemont
one of the real
right
IMAXs.
now,
I don't know if they're showing it or not.
Well, if I want to go Rosemont right now, it'd probably take me like 45 minutes to get there. Especially since there's no traffic right now. But yeah, the Rosemont Theater, a lot of screens are looking anywhere between 50 and 70% full. And of course, you might get in somewhere around 5 to 10% of last minutes too, just to be generous with that number. So I think, what are we considering a good box office domestically? Are we considering 60 million good? Or
They're
considering
saying 55, 60 domestically, 130 worldwide.
that sounds about right to me.
And I don't think that's too shabby. I think that's probably right in line with the last few. In fact, I think the third one did the best of them all, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, the budget's huge, though, guys.
Yeah,
yeah,
so
that's
it's
a problem. The
huge.
budget's
Okay,
like
that's
130 million, I think
No.
itself.
160. I think
Was it 160?
it needs to make 400 million worldwide just to break
tricky.
even.
What's the average gross of the movies?
They've been doing all right. Let me see
What's
here.
of the previous movie. What's the average gross?
But you guys got to also remember this is the first one we've had in like 5 years too.
Well, I asked this because I'm noticing a pattern that I've noticed a lot of those other movies that kind of open similarly within a box office weekend range, at least domestically speaking. I don't know the overseas numbers.
Rise of Planet of the Apes. Rise of the Planet of the Apes had a $54 million opening weekend in 2011, and it ended with 481 worldwide. Let me see if I can find the other ones here. I forgot how to make it to where I can compare them. Anyway, what was the second one called?
Dawn. Rise and War.
Dongs of the Planet of the Apes.
Rise is the first one, yeah.
Rise? No.
Yeah, Rise is the first one.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
And then the second one did 710 worldwide with a what's the opening here? Trying to find the opening. Okay, where's the opening? Doesn't have the opening for the second one for some reason. Weird. Domestic. Here we go. Okay, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Well, listen, cinemas.
It did. The second one did. The second one did 72 million in its first 3 days.
I was just gonna say the cinemas need it. They really need a big hit.
Yeah, they do. And then War did. Actually, War did half of what the last one did. War only did 490 million. I thought that one did better, so I guess it was the second one that did the best. And that had a domestic opening of only 56 million. So they had a peak in the center of the trilogy.
They're opening up in China this weekend. China numbers don't look great. They need a good word of mouth.
I wonder if the third film didn't open up against. I'm trying to remember what opened up that week at the same time.
Can always that they're good about because they'll have that thing where they show you.
So yeah, this one will be lucky if it legs out 400 million. Most likely, it looks like here.
So it might basically maybe break even, maybe.
Yeah, because word of mouth is not going to help. Because this one is not as good as the last one. So it's
So,
good.
Well, yeah, but it's 5 years later. I think if anything, families are going to save this movie.
It might, and it is a good family film, and it does have a good family message to it in a sense. Like I'm not going to sit here and again, I'm still stretching to try and think of anything that people are going to be offended by. Like I don't think there really is on either side. So all right, I think we all recommend it except for Price, who doesn't really recommend it as much.
I don't hate it. It's not the worst movie. I wouldn't give it a failing grade, but it's not as good as it should be.
What have you liked
just,
lately?
Like I said, it's just okay.
What have you liked new lately?
What have I liked new? Even though I thought that the Fall Guy had also flaws and issues, I actually found it more enjoyable than this movie.
Totally agree.
At least it didn't drag and stuff. I mean, it was fun, but it had issues, but it was at least fun. This one kind of wasn't fun and too long. I don't know. It was all right. That's it.
I don't know. I had fun, but I have a predilection towards monkey movies.
I thought Fall Guy was great. Anyone else see the Fall Guy?
Not yet. I want to see that.
Good. I still want to see it.
Yeah, it's really well done.
Timing's just not been good for me to go to the
me
movies
neither.
yet. So I want to go though. I want to see it.
Warrior Justice says, "What did the Mexican say after the house fell on him? Get off me, Holmes. I just saw the original Planet of the Apes and it was good. Thanks, Clobberly.
Hey,
Pretty good joke, Warrior Justice.
what the Mexicans say after the house fell on him? Get off me, Holmes.
Ain't no witch." Matthew Valente sends in another 5. Thank you for being so supportive today. Says, I hope it does well because I said great apes are amazing individuals with unique.
I need more representation.
I guess it means representation.
Yes.
Unique personalities and need
Personalities is
more
what I think he means. Yeah.
Thank you, Matthew.
I should have known that the drunk fucking Scott Canadian would be able to translate that shit. I can read that.
It was the Texan part of it I got there.
Oh, sure.
Hey, did I guys tell you this joke? What are the one-legged? Okay, hold on. What are the lowrider cholo say to the one-legged Japanese hitchhiker?
No idea.
Let me say it again. What did the cholo lowrider say to the one-legged Japanese hitchhiker?
I don't know.
Hop on, esa.
Warrior Justice sends another 2 and says, Americans always love to give each other the clap.
Hello.
Just firing them in here. And oh my God, Squirrel gifting 10 memberships. Thank you so much for that. We appreciate the support. And then Warrior Justice says, but China never likes apes, not even the animal. Oh, well, we'll have to see how it rolls with them.
Let me just say to anyone in the chat, if you're offended, good.
Six asks a very important question. What's a cholo?
What's a chola?
Chola?
Oh, chola. Sorry.
A chola, I mean, just by looks, they got the high hair, Aquanet hair. They got the big, drawn eyebrows, kind of like overdone makeup. They look tough. They maybe they're in Dickies, and yeah, you want to mess with them. That's a chola.
Okay.
Just writing down your notes there, Clobby.
Yeah, I did not know that. That's wild, weird stuff.
What did the cholo rider say? The one-legged, hop on.
And then Matthew Valenti says, it's a shame humans are destroying the great ape habitats as we'll be poaching them into extinction. Yeah, it is pretty sad that where the shape of apes are in right now. But
I don't know. I think apes are doing pretty well now. I saw one of them fought alongside Godzilla a few weeks ago.
That's right. They're doing pretty good at the box office.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. There's an ape
if
movie
we are to be dominated by a species, then
such
God,
a
let
fool
it be a
to be
species.
It's a fun movie, man. You got to be a real unhappy person not to like that film, not to have fun.
No, it was fun. It was fun. I liked it.
Price?
Which one?
No, I don't. Price.
I'm just having fun.
You got to understand, Paulie, like Price giving it that much praise is like a normal person going, that was a fucking great movie.
I'm pulling his pierna. Right, Pricey?
Esa no mi película favorita.
Ándale, pues.
Well, Sadie is telling me it's time to get going.
Oh, man. Just warmed up.
I know.
I missed the Gollum talk, man. I wanted to talk Gollum.
I know. Well, how did you feel about that? What do you feel about that?
Fucking garbage, man.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, listen, it's one thing to give an FU to Amazon. Big deal, right? That at the end of the day, you're talking about maybe a small paragraph out of the whole book of Lord of the Rings, where they talk about Strider hunting Gollum down and then losing his tracks. That's it.
You know what, though? I totally understand.
Movies out of it.
Well, I don't think you'll do that. They're going to make 2 movies, but they're not making 2 movies out of this.
Just like what Price said. It's like, we got to really, is this is what we've come down to?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe silver lining to that is that, okay, I'm Peter Jackson. I'm going to let Schmo Joe Jackson direct this one. I'm going to go direct the Silmarillion. I'm gonna go do the real hard, heavy lifting.
Well, and here's the thing. To me, it's like it doesn't matter what it is. This is them saying, fuck you to Amazon. We're going to take something that doesn't exist and we're going to show you how it's done, y'all.
Okay.
That's what I see right here.
Listen. Okay. You know, if they really wanted to do that, they would have just their version of Rings of Power. That would have been
even better. Yes.
Because they ghosted Jackson. So fuck them. And I do. And listen, I got Jackson's back. I mean, they ghosted him. They ghosted him, man. You know, so yeah, I got no love for Rings of Power.
Because like a lot of the guys were saying a lot of the same stuff you are. It's obviously the cash grab, all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to argue. I can't argue with any of that stuff. But I'm just sitting here like, good. It is. All I have to do is think about Rings of Power for 2 seconds.
But it's not even a movie.
He needs to get
a paragraph. It's. So I'm like, well, how can they make that a movie? Hunting for Gollum, like, gonna be 50.
So if is there some scribblings on a napkin? Maybe they could have made a movie out of.
You know what? If you asked Zack Snyder or Peter Jackson to make a 2-hour movie about Gollum, we know we're gonna get something interesting out of Peter Jackson. Everything's gonna be smooth as hell, but it's still gonna be interesting.
I think he almost ruined those Hobbit movies. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of that was Guillermo del going like, you know what? I don't think I'm going to do this, and then they were stuck.
So, Paulie, 10
he
years.
added another movie. That's
I don't know,
true.
dude. I actually read those books often, so I'm
Paulie,
honestly, I don't give a shit if it's Gollum taking a shit for an hour and a half.
10 years from now, they'll be making a movie and saying based on an autograph by J.R. Tolkien.
Based off of Gollum's crap.
You know what? Like I said, they could do anything they want with it. The beauty of it was that press release, what they said, how they said it, the double flipping the bird to Amazon, calling him Professor Tolkien, them being referred to as keepers of Tolkien's lore. Like all these things that they were just throwing out there. There was just like dart after dart after dart after dart.
It's kind of like, but it's kind of like Chris Cuomo now saying like, "Oh, I'm doing my my medicine." It's way after the fact. They should have thrown these.
Nobody told him, Paulie. Nobody told him.
I don't know about
Fuck that
To
guy.
me, this would be the equivalent if like somebody who was big in Star Trek come in and said, you know what, y'all, we're going to go back and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. We're going to do this. All this shit that undoes JJ and Kurtzman's bullshit, basically, in so many words. The fans would be going insane right now. The reaction to this is so mixed. I'm not understanding it. The only reason I can understand some resistance is because of The Hobbit.
I already told you. I already just explained it to you. Like the real fans of that love Jackson, so they love that, but then they're torn because I'm like, what the fuck is there to hunt? It was like 2 sentences in a paragraph of a book that's what.
Well, and I just
that's
explained to you.
my earlier question.
Okay, so think about it, Paulie.
Where he's stretched out. Why?
Think about it though for a second, Paulie. What the fuck did Amazon do? They took nothing and tried to make a show out of it, right? So these guys are going to take literally nothing, like you just said, 2 paragraphs, and turn it into a fucking movie.
They actually took a lot more.
And I bet you they're going to show Amazon how to fucking do it because you got Andy Serkis back playing Gollum. I don't care. My favorite one of the movies is the second film. Why? Because we get the most of Andy Serkis playing off himself. That is a fucking tour de force performance where he's playing Smeagol and Gollum in the same fucking scene. It is one of the greatest scenes in history.
Tom, I hope you're right. I really hope you're right because that would be nice. Because
I hope so.
I
have a lot of faith in him.
Such garbage.
You know what? I'm more excited that Andy Serkis is involved, and that takes me back to my whole ape thing because I feel like that's the only thing that was missing from this fucking movie. Because he earned the spot to be there, regardless if his character is dead, because he is the Planet of the Apes, as far as I'm concerned. Just like back in the day, people even refer to it as Charlton Heston. No, fuck that. Planet of the Apes is Roddy McDowell's all the way through and through. As far as I'm concerned, this is Andy Serkis's series. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they earned it. They took their spot. This is theirs. Now he's going over to Gollum.
I'll do respect on this. That's normie talk, and that's fine. That's fine because that's like, you know, Andy Serkis. Yeah, you know, the movies and stuff. I get it. But again, it's like, okay, well, you know, didn't they already kind of did that in Return of the King? They showed Smeagol's origins. So
Well, this isn't going to be his origin. This is going to be them tracking him down and all that stuff. So
But what I'm saying is that the origin had more. There was more written about Schmeagol and his people than there was about that one sentence where Strider lost the scent of Gollum. And it wasn't.
Yes, but you have to read between the words. Read between the lines.
All right.
I'm just kidding, man.
I just wish there was,
I think you actually are more onto something with what is Peter doing as the second film?
What is Peter doing as the second film? But this does make sense business-wise because it's circus and it's Gollum, and that's like the baby Gorgu of Lord of the Rings.
I would actually, I don't know if I'd call him the baby Grogu, but
whatever his name is, Grogu. Yeah.
I mean, I get your comparison there, but I mean, he's kind of more important than Grogu ever was. Right, like I mean, he's
meaning that to mainstream audiences is like, oh yeah, Gollum, yeah, wow, or Samwise,
yeah.
Do a Samwise show.
No, Samwise would be fucking boring.
Yeah, it would. You already had the Samwise show. It was Return of the
because we know because Samwise is like one of the most boring hobbits there is because all he does is gripe the whole time. He's we shouldn't be going on an adventure, Mr. Frodo.
No, but in his lineage, after he came back, he became a mayor. He was mayor of Hobbiton for several terms, and then his kids were. Yo, man, I read this shit. Come on now.
I know, but that's a series at best.
Law and Order Hobbiton.
See, that's dope.
So they have to go to the mayor to get decisions.
So it says here you stole all the mushrooms from Farmer Ed's
Samwise Baby Reindeer Edition.
That's right. Yeah.
I don't even get me started. I don't even know what the fuck that shit is. All I had to do was listen to those guys talking about what's his face from Doctor Who.
I saw the show. We saw the show.
That.
Yeah.
Anyway, Warrior Justice says, "What do you call a Mexican? A paragraph. What do you call a small Mexican? Go ahead. Yeah.
What do you call a small Mexican, Mike? Oh, wait a minute.
Wow. Wow.
You're gonna make him come back in here.
Hi-oh. Wow.
He can't be that short.
He's
probably taller than me.
You come with all the barbaric comments today, and I'm actually really all about it. I'm really liking this. I would actually I know I'd buy that for a few more dollars.
What do you call a small Mexican? A paragraph because he's not a full essay yet. By the way, there is Dr. Zira and Taylor porn parody. I was curious. LOL. Damn.
Rule 32, man. I mean, come on. Of course there is. Just so damned ugly. Matthew Valenti sends in another 5. Says, I'm going to say great apes might be my favorite animals. Fun fact, they're the only animals which some individuals received
personhood rights.
Personhood rights. Yes. Yeah. Matthew Valenti says, I prefer the new one over the old one because I think it makes more sense for the protagonist to be an ape rather than a human. True, but you got to remember at the time when those films come out and they were heavy allegory for the civil rights movement.
Not the whole point of the thing. The whole point was it to be, well, never mind.
Yeah, to be alien, to be human, but to still be the alien in the situation. Yeah.
He loves apes so much. What about Gorilla Grodd? What's your stance on him?
Man, they were allegory, man, for Jewish rights, man. Yeah.
Homosexuality. Dearest sends in 5 and says, a Samwise show would be Andy Griffith meets Clarkson's Farm. Exactly. It would be boring as fuck.
Jeremy Clarkson should play a part in it. That would be perfect.
Let me tell you what goes on in Hobbiton. You guys want to know what goes on in Hobbiton? A lot of fucking, a lot of weed smoking, and
you should copyright these ideas.
Jack shit. That's why it's such a big deal when Gandalf shows up and is like, let's go on an adventure. And everybody's like, no, get that fucking crazy wizard out of here.
Well, and then again, where did all the black hobbits go, man? Because the Rings of Power,
that's kind of like they went to the same place all the black Flintstones and all the black Jetsons went to.
Ain't no blacks or browns. And
I think, Paulie, they left them, they twisted their ankles and they left them behind to disturb.
Damn. Up on, issy.
Oh. Yeah, that's where you want to really get into like that, like the Jetsons and the Flintstones. Where's the black folks and darker folks on those shows, y'all? I always used to point that out. I
Hilarious,
used to
man.
have fun with that. I'd be like, what was the name of the black character on the Jetsons? And everybody just be sitting there going,
You know what's so funny? Did
What
you
is it?
catch that one tribe in Kingdom of humans, and they're by the river, right? They're all like, you know, primitive.
Yeah.
Did you see them, right? And then there's one black guy.
Was there really? I didn't even pay attention to that part. I didn't even
I don't
notice
know why
that.
That's funny. It just stuck out. I'm like,
I didn't even notice that. Now that you say it, I think it is.
Guy
but,
doing
like,
there?
You'd think
Well-
after 300 years it'd be pretty brown, like just, you know, coffee
Well,
color.
yeah, 300 years, and you got a tribe, and like all them dudes is white, and then there's this one brother.
What am I doing here? What the?
I like.
Well, they were all white in the original too, so go figure. Except for the only black guy, I think, was the one that came with Taylor, if I remember right.
Oh,
Was there any black people on that planet
at the end?
So. No, in the original.
Yeah,
I can't think.
Yeah.
Was there? I
was.
couldn't remember.
Dodge
no,
was
I know,
one
but
of the
he
first
came
three.
with Taylor, though. That was my point.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Oh, yeah.
Taylor Swift?
Yeah, Taylor Swift.
That was his name, Taylor Swift.
See, and that was what I was.
Dude,
that
you
was
want to
what I was
make
kinda-
money? Make it Taylor Swift versus Godzilla. Yeah.
This is where I almost freaked out.
Oh,
This is
that's
okay. So,
next.
and for anybody who's worried about spoilers, now would be a good time to check out because we're going to check out pretty soon anyway. But like, here was one of the moments where I almost freaked out on the movie. I was like, especially after we got the scene in the field, when she started fucking talking, and she told them her name. If she would have said Taylor, I would have flipped my fucking lid, and I would have walked the fuck out of that theater right to goddamn now. I'll tell you what, I was that goddamn close because I'm waiting. I'm like, wait, this bitch talks. And I'm like,
Taylor Swift could write a song about breaking up with Godzilla.
Because here's the one thing that's true. Because I'm like, we'll call her Nova. I literally went, wait a minute, we already have Nova. She was before, and then they actually pin it with a joke, and I'm not going to say the joke because it'll ruin it for anybody who wants to see it still. But it is actually a pretty funny joke. So I'm like, okay, that works.
But
then I was like waiting. I'm waiting for the moment to come where she's like, yeah, I'm Taylor. I'm actually an astronaut from the fucking past. And I was like, no, you fuckers, don't you do this to us. I was so waiting for it.
But listen, full spoiler though. When she said Noah, right? I didn't understand it. I'm like, is she retarded?
I thought the same thing, Polly. I thought like she was like slow. She couldn't speak.
Like
no, Noah's his name. At first, I thought exactly she said like no, because I thought that was the whole callback to Caesar, because that was the first thing he said. Remember, was no. So I thought it was her going no to him, and then I know it was Noah because that was his name.
I was just like, wait, what did she say? And I was just like,
exactly. I would have walked out. Damn you all to hell.
I thought it was like the first word she ever said, that this is the first time she spoke and said a word, because it sounded like she was not.
I thought so at first too, Price, but then I realized, then we realized that's not the case.
No.
But
it was a pretty good standard American accent there.
Yeah.
She's British, but she did an American accent.
Well, and that was where I was starting to worry for a bit there. I'm like, oh, don't you fucking dare. Don't you fucking But at least when she's like, yeah, because like when the ape goes, her name, we'll call her Nova. I'm like, oh, don't do that. You already did that. That's dumb. Like, at least they saved it. I was like, okay. It was the same thing with when you find out who she is. You're like, okay. You know, because those were the 2-3 moments where they could have went off the fucking rails, and you're like, no, God, no, don't do this to us. Please, God, don't do this with Disney, you fuckers. You've done everything else, because I'm a huge Apes fan. I know it doesn't seem like it, but I guess you can tell now. Matthew Valenti says, I think Caesar might be Andy Serkis's best performance he ever did. I agree. That's why I feel like he was missed here.
I liked him in Andor.
I don't know if I got to see him in Andor. I'm trying to remember. I only saw a couple episodes.
Great fucking role, man.
I gotta pick it back up. I didn't quit because I got mad or anything.
I just in Andor. The whole
I just
Andor
didn't get into it. Yeah, I liked him in. I like him in everything I see him in, though. So
I'll tell you what, Polly. Considering
I've heard
all
personally,
the
he's kind of a dick. But
wait, hold on. What happened?
Considering all the crap that Disney put out on Disney Plus, that Star Wars, Andor was somewhat acceptable, but it was also too slow and it had issues. It just considering all things considered, it wasn't terrible, I guess.
Did you see the end? Oh, you saw the whole thing?
I saw the whole thing, man. Every single episode of that.
Hey, that's your opinion, man. I respect that.
Jason wants to know when Andy Serkis is going to win an Oscar. He is an amazing actor. I agree. I know he got
He's-
nominated.
He's probably
I don't
going to
think
be
he's
one
won.
that's going to get an honorary one at the end of his career because he's
Maybe.
so prolific.
That or
He had
he's
a
just the
Mexican
right
one up
roll
there.
away from it.
We had a Mexican chat. What happened to that?
Did we?
Super chat.
Did we miss one?
It was the one before it. It was like a Mexican something.
Yes, Warrior of Justice. That's it.
There we go.
Why didn't it save that one? That's weird.
I don't know.
Warriors of Justice, and this has been happening lately with StreamYards. Apologies. Mexican hobbits are just normal-sized humans. Oh.
Well, and that's a whole nother thing. And like, kind of like I joke that, you know, Mike is so short and squat, but those short, squat people are the ones that are gonna inherit the earth after the apes take over.
Right.
It should have just been a bunch of Mexicans hanging out.
True.
You know, people that actually know how to live off the land. The fuck?
No more Tom knows.
That culture thing at the end. Well, culture is short, so if you add culture and comics and then have a whole sea of Mexican
And
Iron
you're
Man,
short. You're
it'll
pretty
be
short, aren't
it'll
you?
be an ocean of midgets, and I think that's Tom's natural habitat.
I will
Okay.
say I did get giddy though when I heard and then the actual music from the kick in. I'm like, oh god, finally we get some actual music in these movies. That's to me one of the things that was really missing from the first three was some actual Apes music, some Jerry
Music
Goldsmith.
was great in this one.
Yeah,
Really liked it.
I know you'd appreciate that, Clobby, but yeah.
Yes,
I
the
thought the music was okay for this one.
Oh god.
soundtrack to the
I'm gonna get the
original-
soundtrack.
I'm starting to pick up on price. Like everything that's okay is actually pretty good.
Exactly. Yes,
All
you
right.
figured that out. Yeah,
Figured it out.
his bar is really low
Right.
or high. High.
Yeah.
high bar.
Yeah.
Warrior Justice says, "Who else is going to cut their lawn, Polly? Us." Oh well, he's.
Well,
I think he's also
you know,
claiming he's. I didn't know you were
He-
Mexican as well, Warrior. There you go.
Well, me and Mike, we only hire white people to mow our lawns. They don't do
Well, yeah.
a really good job, but we
No.
feel good about giving American.
We appreciate that.
White boys got to
Americans
eat.
work.
We appreciate the affirmative action there.
Right. Right.
Only you don't find white boys hanging out in front of Home Depot. They hang out in front of Kohl's.
Bend and scoop. Like the Mexicans.
You go to Kohl's and you know, okay, I'll take a couple of white boys. Come on. Could you know how to clean a pool? Anyway, thank you so much, Polly, for hopping in here.
Yeah.
I hope everything's okay with Mike and Bambino. I know
It's
he
fine.
had a client
It's fine.
911 as well, he said to me. But thank you for hopping in earlier, Mike. We love you, brother. Thank you, Polly, for coming in, and of course, Brian for hopping in late as well. You didn't get a proper entrance, but thank
No
you. for
worries,
being here.
mate. Thanks for having me.
And of course, Price, you got a show coming up later. This show is going to lead you over to that. You're talking some Quantum Leap.
Yeah, and theoretically, there could be something interesting that'll happen tonight, but I don't want to say it until it possibly happens.
We'll be okay.
Hopefully, it'll be okay. Yes,
It's kind of like Quantum Leap. You never know.
Wow.
it's a good episode, but also I'm hoping
What
that
is
we.
tonight's episode?
It's called Good Night, Dear Heart, and it's actually an episode that I like, and we may even have, possibly, I don't want to say for sure because you never know these things, maybe even an interesting guest.
It's kind of
Yeah,
weird.
you were hinting at that twice.
Yeah. Price of Reason saying something he likes. It's kind of strange.
Well, it's
Yeah, I
older
like
than a
Quantum
few
Leap.
years.
Like the original,
Quantum Leap.
not the new one, but the original Quantum Leap I like.
Cool.
And then, Polly, what you got going on besides the Latino slant?
Well, we put up a Disney DEI video where Forbes released a little expose about the pricing, how they Disney paid their people on the Snow White movie, and they paid women remarkably lower. And so that has really picked up some steam. So we're gonna check out that video. That's picked up some nice steam on the channel, and we're gonna do some follow-ups to that with some like kind of like real news as far as sources that we got in regards to where and what is going on with Snow White moving forward. But That one is pretty cool. Yeah, so check it out.
Nice.
Awesome sauce, Brian. Anything you got coming up?
No, well, we had a great show on Monday on the channel that Nick was a part of on the new wave of British heavy metal. That was a lot of fun, so go check that out. And I also did see a movie at the weekend. It was the fourth entry in the Korean franchise, The Roundup. The Roundup Punishment. So I've got a review of that up.
You would think after 4 movies they would have rounded them up by now.
There's always more bad guys to round up. It's Don Lee punching bad guys. You can't go wrong. It's 1 hour 40 minutes of him punching.
Not even familiar with it, but it sounds like fun to me.
Fabulous.
It sounds like there might even be karate in
it. No, he just punches people. He doesn't need to do all the fancy
that's close.
stuff.
Karate is fighting with hands, so that might count, right, Paulie?
Yeah.
Yes.
Ma Dong-suk, Don Lee, as he's also known, Don Lee. It's a very popular Korean franchise, The Roundup. So go check that out. Check my video on that out if you want to find out more about that franchise.
Excellent. Nick!
Whoa!
You back, Nick?
I'm back. I've come back.
Oh my God.
Anyways,
We got coming up that's so huge.
Oh, I got huge things that come and I have huge things that go. And put out a video this morning. We're going to work on another shortly after here in between this and Thursday Night Throwdown. Comshot Talk to My will resume our Spider-Man ASM run of the original run. D-Bud will be a part of that too. It's going to be diabolically huge. Toxic Tuesday, Dazed and Confused next week as well. And I'll be on TNT in a half hour too. On top of that, so yeah, I'm really close to that 2K mark. I can taste it. I can feel by the skin of my teeth. Like
get over there, guys.
So yeah,
subscribe.
I want you guys to come and sub. Thanks for having me, Tom. It's been a very fulfilling experience.
Interesting. Speaking of filling, I did watch that Seinfeld film, Unfrosted. Has anybody else seen that yet?
Oh, how was it?
I watched it.
I kind of liked it. It wasn't great, but you didn't like it, Paulie?
No, I heard it was like awful.
No, well, you got to understand, it is complete satire, right? What did you think about it, Price?
You know, it wasn't his best work, but I didn't hate it in the sense that it's just kind of. Sometimes you have movies that are almost like nonsensical. I think that he was going for this movie that if you're sitting down and you're expecting this well-written screenplay with a bunch of arcs and things, you're not going to get it in this movie. This is kind of like a goofy movie where
I laughed quite a bit.
Nonsensical things happen, almost like a collection of skits that could have been somewhere, like just different ideas that seem to amuse him. I didn't hate it, but it's not his finest hour. When I saw it, I thought to myself, if you had Larry David here, probably they could have delivered something better together.
You know, I've been rewatching Curb Your Enthusiasm since season 1, episode 1. I absolutely love that show.
That's wonderful.
No, is it his best? No, but is it? I had some belly laughs in this fucker.
I've been
especially with some of the cameos and some of the other shit. Like, I mean, the trailer did not lie about what this movie's about, guys.
No,
I mean,
it's
pretty representative of what the movie is.
It's kind of like almost a surreal, nonsensical humor type of thing.
That's why I said it's very satirical. Yes,
it's probably not for everybody, but oddly, I didn't hate it. I didn't think oh, this is the worst thing that ever happened to me. I understand what he was going for, but it could have been probably better, but it wasn't a disaster. It was, again, kind of okay, I guess.
Yeah, I didn't hate it. I thought it was fun. I laughed more than I have in a comedy in a while.
Tom, Price said it was okay. There must be you got to come up with a like a ringtone or a fucking video every time Price says, "Oh, it was okay."
Well, that's kind of a glowing.
He agrees with me this time.
It's kind of a glowing review in a way.
I thought Planet Kingdom was okay.
Considering the people that are in this movie, like you got Amy Schumer, but she plays a character you're not supposed to like any fucking way. So like,
the best was Bill Burr as JFK. I thought that was probably the best part of the movie.
I loved his outtake too. Did you catch that?
Right. Yeah.
Oh God, that was great. There's some of the cameos are the best bits. Like that's the thing. This is one of those kind of movies. So Like, and I think you probably know one of the cameos I'm talking about, Price, because I'm like, if they do the cameo I think they're going to do here, it's like they did it like 2 or 3 times. It was brilliant. It was just like, okay, like this is very much like a Seinfeld habit, like you said, just fucking around. And nobody else was going to make this movie but him.
Right. It seems like this was something that he always just thought was amusing to himself. And Netflix came along and said, hey, we got some money. You can do whatever you want. And he's like, great. I've always wanted to do this. It's almost like he made a movie for himself. But I don't mind it.
Kyle Dunnigan is great too as Walter Cronkite. Yes.
Yeah.
I do pay all the fucking bills. I will drink as much as I want.
Yeah, I respect that.
I love that. Again, like 10% of it actually happened. If that. It's loosely based on something that actually happened once in history.
Very, very loose.
And they throw in all sorts of shit to the point where you're like, you almost kind of start to question what is real or not, because and then you get to the point where you realize that 90% of this is bullshit. But like it is, I mean, basically it takes the idea of that there was this race between Post and Kellogg's, and Post supposedly stole their idea that they were working on to begin with to get a toaster strudel type breakfast confection to the tables. And it was all that's basically the concept, right? And so they run with that, but they treat everything so, what's the word I'm looking for? Literally, right? Because the setup for the movie is it's Seinfeld telling this story to a kid anyway. So right off the bat, he's clearly just throwing in shit that he's making up and stuff. Like, you know, just to kind of drag the story out and amuse the kid. So it's amusing us at the same time. And I found that kind of enduring. So that part of the film, I didn't even hate Melissa McCarthy in the movie, of all things. There was even a couple bits where she made me laugh. So like there was even one line that Amy Schumer made me laugh at. And I wonder if you actually laughed at it too or not.
Wow, she's capable of being funny.
Well, they said, the kid said, well, it's better than what it's even better than what was in the dumpsters. And she's like, yes, that's what they said about grape nuts too. That was the only line that made me laugh.
As much as I don't like Amy Schumer, as much as I don't like Amy Schumer, I admit that this role, because it's a character you're supposed to not like, somehow it wasn't the end. It's probably the only time I've been able to tolerate her. And she isn't on screen every second either, so that also helps.
Yes, I agree. Like, if you're going to utilize her, this is the way to do it. Yeah, if you're going to have to.
Right.
Yeah. But anyhow, that being said, we're going to wrap it up here. We got Warrior Justice who says, who else is going to cut their lawn, Paulie? Yes, we got that one already. He says, no half Puerto Rican and Colombian, that's for sure.
He's half Puerto Rican and Colombian, not Mexican. So he sells himself his own cocaine while he does the he does the merengue on the beach there.
Gotcha. Now I see what you're saying here.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Warrior. Appreciate that. Yes. And speaking of drag, I just remembered that I saw that, and I just wanted to talk.
What's happening in the chat?
That's what
Six is just being.
She's just being Six.
She's being a bad girl.
She's just. She must be feeling better today. She's feeling spicy or sassy or whatever you want to call it.
What's a chola? Hell yeah.
She's asking questions. It matters.
She's acting like a chola right now. It's good. I didn't mean it. Don't take it offense. Don't take it offense.
All right, Clobby, what you got going on? We left off with you. I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem. The clubhouse in about a little less than half an hour now, and then tomorrow night on my buddy J-Man's channel, continue reviewing all of Jack Kirby's run on Fantastic Four each week on Fantastic Fridays. Then Saturday night Star Trek, 9 p.m. Central. Oddly enough, on Saturday nights. Thanks for having me, buddy. Appreciate it.
All right, and with that, you'll find me on the morning show most likely tomorrow. And who knows where I'll pop up? Maybe TNT. Who knows? So there you go. And with that, We will see you on the next program.
It's a combination of Dirty Dozen, Seven Samurai, and Star Wars.